Hello, everybody, and welcome back at long, long last to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. As always, I am Dragna Carter, your host and DM, on return from our unexpected but welcome-to-be-over hiatus. Welcome back to all of our players. We've had a lot of stuff going on these past few weeks. I know there's been a few announcements in D&D. I know that apparently the Forgotten Realms is being discarded in favor of high school AUs. So
yeah,
I think the question that we all need to answer is whether Strahd is a jock, a band geek, or, I don't know, a math nerd?
he's a brooding goth in the corner.
He's not a goth.
Yeah.
He is not a goth. He is a jock. He's a jock who happens to listen to like Nine Inch Nails. That's it.
Beautiful.
Total
all
jock
right,
energy.
so now we know that when we all throw away Curse of Strahd and prepare for our Strixhaven Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft crossover this coming winter, I know exactly where to put him.
Don't tease the people, Dragna. Folks want that.
It's true.
I mean, I want that.
I want
We
that.
all want the final dinner to be a prom.
Please.
I think
consider it.
we've already got campaign ideas. Like, come on, let's just roll with it.
Yeah, that's
I want you to
fair.
let us
And,
have fun, Dragna.
I never have fun. It's rule 1. I learned it from Zio.
We missed y'all.
It's been a while, but it's good to be back. All right, so pushing aside the specter of our Dark Lord High School AU for the moment, I suppose we have this one Dark Lord to work with who has been not in high school for many, many years. So, with that said, while he is still a goth, I suppose we have to deal with him nonetheless. So, welcome back, everyone, and let's dive in and get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. And welcome back, everyone. So, last we left off on Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. After recruiting to their party a new ally, Davian Mardukov, their foretold party member from Madame Ava's Taroka reading and a member of the Keepers of the Feather, Order of Spies, our characters and unlikely heroes ventured to the ancient mansion and rumoredly haunted location of Argynvostolt. They're aiming to find new allies and secrets in their ongoing effort against Strahd. There they re-encountered an old acquaintance, Dr. Rudolf van Richten, as well as met several of the long-deceased but nonetheless still animated members of the Order of the Silver Dragon. While present there, they received a request by the spirit of the dragon Argynvost himself to recover his bones from this fortress of his enemy, Castle Ravenloft, and return them to their rightful resting place at the manor. After fleeing the mansion, the party soon returned to the Blue Water Inn in Vallaki. There, after settling in for a birthday dinner, they received an unexpected visit in the night from Strahd himself. There, he presented them after briefly inspecting the Sun Sword and charming Kiva and Metreon, shared a standing invitation for the party to join him for dinner at Castle Ravenloft. With his departure, and after a night of fitful sleep, in which Amity received foreboding dreams of what seemed to be the Amber Temple atop Mount Ghakis, the group ventured forth from Valaki, now aiming to meet Casimir, the Dusk Elf, at the encampment to the west, and there learn more about their potential next destination. Upon their arrival, meeting with Casimir, they learned more about the dangers that awaited them atop Mount Ghakis, about the secrets of the temple, and as Erthrendir remained within, about the story of Casimir's deceased sister, Petrina, his goal of resurrecting her via the ancient magics of the Amber Temple, and the risks that he was willing to take upon himself in the effort to do so. And so, as Erthrendir concludes his conversation with Casimir inside of the small, comfortable Dusk Elf cottage, outside of the cottage, several other members of the party were sharing a conversation with Victor Velakovich. So, Lillison, Amity, and Metreon, standing outside of the cottage, Erthrendir and Casimir still vanished inside, as far as you can tell, huddled together in further conversation. You can see Victor leaning with a soft, kind of disheveled looking expression on his face, his black hair mussed, his shoulders slouched and slumping as he leans against the wall of the cottage next to a pile of unkempt stacked firewood. He's just kind of staring off into the tree line, just glowering at nothing, or perhaps that small cloud of mist that's just curling faintly over the edge of the hill. Off to the side, just closer toward the path, but keeping a sharp eye on the group and on the tree line around you, you see Davian Mardukov just quietly residing and keeping watch. Behind you, vanishing behind the circle of wagons atop the hill, you see Kiva, followed by several of your compatriots, vanishing from sight. In the distance, you can just faintly hear the sound of the Vistani horses, the sound of activity from atop the hill, and the faint sound of life as several Dusk Elves and others mill around the encampment, preparing for the day as the hour reaches perhaps mid-morning. As you stand there, Victor just breathes in a very slow breath and then exhales, blowing a long strand of what seems to be a premature streak of white hair away from his eyes, and just continues to glower toward the tree line.
Metreon just gives him a bit of a side eye, knowing that he's kind of moping in a very obvious way, but then goes back to just ignoring him.
Lillison looks at the rest of you and says, "I think I have this. Does anybody else wish to speak to him?"
Not particularly, no.
Amity shakes her head.
All right. I think this shouldn't really take more than a minute or two.
Yeah, good luck with him.
She nods and sort of casually strolls over.
He kind of just flickers his gaze toward you and gives you a side eye. He doesn't say anything to you, though. You get the sense that he's trying to sulk.
Lillison gives him a not really respectful, but more sort of like as equals kind of nod. Settles up against the wall of the cottage, about 5 feet away from him, and gazes off in a similar direction. And after a moment, she says, "How has it been the past few days?"
He takes a moment to respond, and then grunts. Horrid. Properly horrid. The damned elf just... Ugh. He shakes his head. At least father just kept alone to himself. Knew when to stop. That one, though, and he shudders again. There's a moment of pause as he kind of like looks balefully at the rising smoke from one of the chimneys, and then just grunts and says, "At least at home there was a place where he wasn't."
Well, I mean, I hear tell that he is a talented master of magic at the very least.
So he says, but he won't bloody let me look at the damn book.
Well, it might be some time before you get an opportunity for that. He is traveling with us for, I don't know for how long, but we are going to be journeying up the mountains.
He actually turns and meets your gaze directly, kind of his eyebrows creeping up into his forehead, and there's a very small, very subtle look of horror on his face. What, and you're expecting me to go with you, just jockeying up into the mountains, up into the muddy snow, and gods know what's up there?
Goodness, no. Half of us don't even want to take this journey. Far be it from me to try to persuade you to do the same. There is, something else that I think you might be much more interested in, and which would help greatly.
His shoulders immediately slump in relief, but he does have a small look of curiosity in his gaze. Though when he speaks, it's with a small note of suspicion. Oh, and what might that be?
There is a tower not very far from here, built upon the shores of the lake. It used to be the abode of a great wizard named Kazan. We have not had many opportunities to stay there, but I would, for one, very much like to know more about that place, and I believe that for somebody seeking the secrets of magic, like you and I believe it might yield its secrets more readily.
An old tower owned by an ancient wizard. You're not pulling my leg, are you? There's nothing like that around here. You can't be sure of that.
I have been there myself. I have walked within. I have seen some of the ancient... I'm sure they were marvels at one point. They're all crumbled by now, but we did not get much time there.
What, and you're just going to let me at it?
Why not?
He appears to consider that for a moment. It does sound somewhat interesting. Where is this place? How come I've never seen it before?
It is on the shores of the lake. What is the name of the lake to the north?
Lake Zarevich?
Is it? I thought it was Lake Baratok.
That's to the west. Have you no knowledge of geography?
Not the geography here.
Oh, well, I suppose that's to be expected of an outsider. But nonetheless, it sounds like an intriguing proposition. Then again, there's no one out by Lake Baratok. What am I supposed to do there for food, for supplies? I'm not going to hunt wolves.
We have some supplies. I don't think that the rest of us should be away for more than perhaps 4 or 5 days, possibly much less, depending on what we find, but... You understand, if you find anything intriguing there, there's no particular reason you need to share with the others.
Given your passive insight, you can very clearly see on his face there is a strong combination of I don't want to go to a tower in the middle of nowhere that's warring with a sense of holy fuck, a place full of magical secrets all for me. And there's just a brief moment of indecision, and then you can very clearly see in his eyes greed win out. And he gives you a very curt nod and says, "Very well then, when shall we set off?"
As soon as everybody else here has concluded their business. I don't know when that will be, but at least some of us wish to be on the road soon.
He sniffs. Good. And you said this was the home of a powerful mage, is that right? Surely there must be something there, some means of bypassing these awful mists or something of that nature.
There might well be. I don't know. There are so many things about that place that I wish I knew more about.
Well, I suppose that'll be up to me to find them then.
She gives him a slow smile. Yes, I suppose it will be.
Very good. He gives you a nod. You may inform me when your compatriots decide to leave, and I shall humbly accept your escort to this place.
Her smile goes a little bit, just a tiny bit, on the road to a smirk, and she gives him a half bow. It might be slightly mocking, but she says, I will do so. Thank you.
Good, yes. And there's kind of like a slightly awkward but relieved grin on his face. Wonderful, very good. Good. And he just kind of leans back and exhales against the side of the cottage, but this time you see his hands are kind of twitching, his fingers fidgeting with each other, looking a little impatient. You think you made it work.
Lillison walks back to everybody else.
Well, you get to him.
He is absolutely raring to go.
What exactly did you tell him was there to make him so excited?
Sorry, I think Kiva's going up the hill, right?
Oh, fuck. I'm the worst. Yeah.
You're good. You're
Never
good.
mind.
But yes, anything from Amity or Metron?
Well, I mean, what did he say? What'd you get him to do?
Well, I told him that there was a tower that belonged to an ancient, powerful mage, might be full of magical secrets, and that was about enough for him to decide that that was more exciting than going up a mountain.
Well, I mean, as long as he's out of our hair.
I feel like he's never walked up a hill. So
No,
this might be better.
That may very well be, but, I mean, I really haven't walked up hills either, so is there a trick to it?
There's... We're on a hill right now. What? Amity explodes.
Well, I think what Emily's trying to say is, you don't seem to have the same aversion to dirt as he does. So, he's got soft hands,
Lillison looks at her own hands.
Well, anyway, what's Randy at? What's he doing?
Earthrendir, at this point, you hear footsteps coming from the interior of the cottage, and Earthrendir steps out. You see Casimir just kind of glancing past him from over his shoulder from the interior of the first chamber of the cottage. Earthrendir, you step out and you see the three of your compatriots kind of clustered around the cottage.
Morning, folks. He looks a little somber, but he perks up when he sees the three of them.
Oh, speak of the devil.
Yes, I am here. Oh, so, Lillison, you managed to talk to Victor?
Yes, he is extremely eager to be off to the tower and delve into ancient and deep magics.
He looks very relieved. Oh, thank God. I was afraid I was going to have to do quite a job to not get him to go to,
I didn't mention what was in the mountains, I just said mountains.
Much obliged.
She makes sure that her back is turned towards Victor before she safely lets out an eye roll.
Earthrendir does not return it, but gives a quiet bit of a grin. Well then, should we be back to Vallaki then? I think we have some cold weather clothes to haggle for.
Yeah, haggle.
Yeah, actually I was thinking about that. Specialized gear is expensive, isn't it? How are we going to pay for this many people?
Metron just gives a sort of knowing glance over at Lillison.
Lillison gives Metron a knowing glance back and turns back to Earthrendir and says, Well, it was very useful this morning to lean heavily on the knowledge that we had saved the town from that vampire that had been roaming.
He'd like to roll insight for all the good it'll do him. 16?
You may certainly try.
I feel like we've had this exchange already.
We
Hold on.
have had this exchange already.
We're just really good at diplomacy, is all.
That's a 13 on deception, so...
Wow, Erfendir actually sees through something. His mouth draws into a taut line. Alright. Yeah, the grateful, certainly. That's definitely the mood I've gotten from these people.
Grateful, fearful, both combined. It's a useful combination.
Look, can we just steal from them if y'all are going to be doing stuff like that? Honestly, preferable to bullying them out of this.
Who said anything about bullying?
I did. I'm not stupid.
Bullying's such a harsh word.
I can think of harsher.
Certainly
But-
not.
Splendid. Well, while we're thinking of those, may I again make my request? Can we just rob them?
Jason, you ain't gotta threaten me with a good time. Yeah, fine. Whatever gets us what we get.
If they have the goods to take already, then I am happy to leave this in Metrion's capable hands, so to speak.
But
But-
if not, yeah, I understand. Would just prefer we avoid those routes if we can.
Understandable. I hope Kiva at least is having a good time.
Oh yeah, she's up with Arabelle. She'll be having time of her life, I'm sure.
As those fate-tempting words float off into the wind, Kiva, around 10 minutes prior to this conversation, you find yourself ascending alongside several of your compatriots. If you don't mind, I believe Irina, Ismark, and Esmeralda were accompanying you, unless you wanted to come up alone.
No, that's the more the merrier.
All right. In that case, you find yourself ascending to the top of the Vistani Hill, passing through the cottages there. You hear the soft laughter echoing from one of them. One other, you think you hear the rattling of dice and the sound of jeers and laughter. You see a group of children running past one of the wagons. You hear the neighing and whinnying of horses, and the soft whisper of the wind across the flag atop the red tent that peaks the hilltop. As you step forward, you kind of take a moment to catch your bearings, and then you feel a tap on your shoulder. Irina meets your gaze and then gives a small smile and a nod of her head toward the left side of the encampment. Just around the corner, you see a large jet black riding horse, a saddle resting against the side of the tent a few feet away from it. And just by it, the tall, broad-shouldered form of Luvash, just taking a brush and just gently brushing it across the side of the stallion's coat.
Yeah, so Kiva will give Irina like a little smile. It's interesting because she she looks like maybe this is a bad idea, and then she just sort of like shakes herself out of it and goes over to Luvash, and when she gets reasonably close enough, she'll like clear her throat to announce her arrival, as much as a tall blue-haired elf needs to announce their arrival.
You do catch a few glances as you make your way through. You're certainly not the most inconspicuous of visitors. And as you do round the corner, you see coming into sight, just beyond Luvash, sitting on the edge of the wagon, just next to the horses, you see two other horses just beside the one that Luvash is grooming. And sitting on the edge of the wagon, you see her little legs dangling over the side, just kind of kicking at the air, the small, familiar form of Arabelle. At the sound of your footsteps, Luvash looks up with a small grunt, and Arabelle looks up, a small glimmer of excitement alighting in her strangely mature eyes. Luavash gives you a nod. Well, it appears that we have a visitor.
Well, I can't stay away too long from my favorite Vistana. Have you been?
As well as we can be. He turns toward Arabelle, but she's already kind of hiked herself off of the edge of the wagon and tiptoed a bit closer, currently kind of leaning up against the side of the horse, petting it softly with a hand, looking up at you. Arabelle looks up at you with big eyes and just kind of tilts her head. Hello there. You came back.
I did. We're going on a trip for a little while, so I just wanted to say hello and maybe spend a little time. You are by far the most entertaining person I've met in Barovia, so can you tell me a little about the horses?
She opens her mouth, and as she does, you hear another set of footsteps approaching, as from around the corner, leading a chestnut-brown mare with white splotches of the absence of color on the sides, you see Aragorn turning around the corner, with a small smirk playing across his face as he brushes his brownish hair out of his eyes, as he, with his other hand, he leads the bridle forward. Well, if it is not my brother's and niece's favorite elf, what
Are
might
there lots of elves around that make it that I'm the favorite, or is it just sort of favorite by being here?
Well, I will leave that up to you. And he chuckles with a kind of a shrug down at the cottages ringing the hill. What's this about the trip? It's not often that we have many guests voyaging to far-off places in Barovia.
Well, we have decided to go to apparently the coldest place in Barovia. An old temple up on Mount Ghakis, I think it's called.
Fascinating. I have not heard over much of such a place, but it sounds fascinating. So it seems quite cool up there. I cannot imagine why one might do such a thing. Is it a popular vacation destination for newcomers?
Oh, yes, actually, we're very excited to have a little freezing cold spa day before we join the master of the land for dinner. So should be fun to take a little trip.
Fascinating. Well, esteemed guests of the master of the castle as well. Well, it sounds like you are quite the busy woman. I shall not keep you. He gives a nod and hands the reins to Luvash, who grunts and kind of winds them around a pole nearby. Aragorn gives a small flourishing bow. Well, then, I wish you the best in your endeavors. I hope that what did you say? There was a spa up there. Well, perhaps I should check it out myself someday.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've heard it's quite lovely.
Indeed. He gives another small flourishing bow and steps away.
Kiva sort of watches him go with, like, suspicion, but also the same way that she looks at any bat that is around her, which is basically she just imagines Strahd being there and just sort of, like, gives a weird smirk because she has a feeling that he's always watching and Aragorn is shifty as fuck. And then she goes back to Arabelle and the horses and listening to this little girl explain everything about horses.
Arabelle, you notice, is kind of just, vibing with the horse that Luvash is grooming, and she turns up at you. You seem like you have an interesting life. I have never been to the mountains.
Well, I'm not really a mountain person myself, honestly. I've lived in a city for most of my life, and so I'm not really excited about the cold, but it should be fun. My life has gotten considerably more exciting since I've been here, though, and you're no small part of that.
She offers a small smile in response to that. Well, I do not try to be overly exciting, but I am happy to hear that I have a perhaps natural gift for it. How long are you planning to stay?
Well, we have some things to take care of here, and and then hopefully after that, I'll be going home.
Luvash gives you a skeptical look, but does not immediately comment.
Yeah, does Kiva get the vibe that Luvash is as shifty as Aragol in the way that Kiva doesn't know because that's meta?
Make an insight check.
Because she's trying to see, like, how can I be here? It's only a 10.
He's tough to read super well. He's got kind of a gruff face. The facial hair obscures some of the finer contours that would make it easier to read. He just seems to, have a pretty one-track expression, just kind of quietly listening, but seems to be mostly focused on the horse as far as you can tell. Though you, of course, he seems to be keeping an eye on Arabelle as he can. As you glance over to him, he takes a step back, pulling the brush away, inspects the horse, and then gives it a pat on the flank. Right then, off you go. The horse whinnies and begins trotting past some of the wagons and down toward the hill, where you see it stop and begin grazing on the grass. He turns to you and crosses his arms. So then, is there anything that you are hoping for? He shrugs, looking a little bit bemused. Or just a social visit?
Well, unless you're going to offer me cold weather clothes at either discount or for a borrow, that might be nice, but other than that, it's a social call. I'm rather taken with your daughter.
But continues listening.
And you, of course, by association.
Well, I cannot say that I or mine have any need of venturing up into those accursed mountains, but by all means, do what you will. If your shoe remains, then I will not stop you, given what you have done for me and mine, but do take care not to stir up trouble as your friend did on the previous occasion, eh?
No, I have no intention of stirring up trouble. I like to live a very quiet, calm life, you see.
Good. And he gives you a nod and just kind of beckons to the next horse, which slowly trots forward and begins brushing through its coat as well. Arabelle kind of looks up at you with those big eyes and says, President, I hope you stay safe, yes? They are very big mountains.
They are indeed. I will be sure to be safe, and hopefully before I go home, I'll be able to come and say goodbye to you.
She looks thoughtful at that, and then nods. I think that I would like that. You will have to tell me more about the homes that you are going to sometime.
Absolutely. It's a very beautiful place, I'm told. So I'd love to tell you all about it. But I'll leave you to your horses and your dad. And it was lovely talking to you, my dear.
It was good to talk to you too. I hope to see you soon. And she gives a small, clumsy but intentional courtesy.
Kiva, takes up her cape and sort of curtsies back and then walks past Luvash and sort of gives him like that, pat on the arm, bro thing. And goes back to Irina and Ez and Ismark and, just looks so wistful. She misses having a little girl.
Fair. Ismark kind of gives you a nod as you return. She seems to be doing well. Shall we return to the others then? see if they finished up down there. As Ismark's question hangs in the air for a moment, down at the base of the hill, Lillison and the others, you see Kiva and Ismark, Irina, and Esmeralda kind of step briefly beyond the wagons. If you'd like, you can go join them, or are you going to wait for them to come down? Or is there anything else you'd like to do down at Casimir's cottage?
Even though Metrion's disguised, he knows that this particular tribe of Vistani don't like him, so he's going to stay and wait.
Erthrendir elbows him. Hey, looking a little wistful up there. Anything you want from there? From up on the hill?
Oh, me?
Yep.
I mean, if I got some, and Metrion reaches into his disguise and pulls out his wineskin and just kind of jiggles it, if they got some.
Want me to make you invisible?
Don't waste it. Just wait for Kiva to come down. These people, they seems nice and all, but I didn't make a great impression on them last time. So, even though and he kind of jiggles one of his imaginary boobs. I'm really attractive right now. I feel like it's hard to resolve that.
As you say this, you hear the sound of footsteps approaching, and you see Esmeralda plus Kiva, Irina, and Ismark approaching. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, no, nothing. I was just talking about how much I'm not liked here, and so maybe it's best that I stay down here.
That's fair. But regardless, I think that she gives Kiva a nod and a smile. We got what we were looking for up there, so if we are ready to return to town, I don't think there'd be any objections from any of us.
Actually, and Lillison glances to Erthrendir and then to everybody else, it sounded very much like Victor wanted to go straight to the tower. I know that there is not very much room in the Blue Water Inn if we are going back to Vallaki for the evening, so perhaps we should bring him straight there.
Well, maybe he could just go on his own. We go to Vallaki, get our stuff, and get out.
He doesn't know where it is.
It's not really our problem.
Just draw him a map. It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not traveling the roads alone.
Listen, he's quite capable, as we saw, as you've seen.
He's also 15 and one person. Not happening.
But what is 15 in human years anyway, right?
Still 15, Kiva.
Bah.
But yeah, no, I'd be alright with that. Although, actually, here's a thought. We could just go to Vallaki, get our stuff, come back here, and then spend the night at the tower. That way, we're a fair bit closer to... Wait, no, but then we need to pick up Casimir. Ugh, logistics.
It's all very complicated.
What if some of us went with Victor to drop him off now? The rest of us go back to Vallaki and get a start on getting those warm clothing, and then we can start off tomorrow.
Why don't I take Metrion and Metrion and Lillison, my two persuasive friends, back to Vallaki, and Erthrendir, you want to walk Victor over?
Alone?
Why don't you take your girlfriend with you?
She's more persuasive than me. She'll be help if y'all are looking to haggle.
Well, then great. I mean, you're capable. Emma, do you want to come with us?
Ez, do you want to get your wagon?
She gives a nod. But of course, I certainly had... Well, she frowns, pausing. I do not know if I will need to bring it all the way up the mountains. There might be some sort of terrain there. I don't think that there's anything... It's something that I might want to retrieve an item or two. If there's an opportunity to visit, I might grab some things from the carriage, but I don't have a pressing need to bring it with me, I don't think. The tower seems to be a reasonably safe place to remain.
Well, then maybe, listen, wait, out of character, where's her card again?
It's at the tower.
It is at the tower.
And then, tower, okay.
And then she has a frown across her face. Wait, sorry, did someone say something about the boy? That's the tower.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm bringing the cart with me.
Yes, you should do that.
Smart move.
Okay. Earthendeer puts his head in his hands. Ugh, I hate trying to adjudicate stuff with this many people. Alright.
Lil,
how about-
Amity, me, Metreon go to Velaki. You sure you want to walk by yourself?
No.
Can you take Kaz with you and have Kaz meet us in Velaki?
Yeah, why not?
How about this?
And Ez. If
I could
Ez
come with
needs to
you.
get-
And Ez.
Yeah, Esmeralda, Amity, me and Victor. That'll work fine.
Yeah, but wait. I mean, Kiva has a point. If we're trying to bring Casimir with us, why not just bring him with us, and then we don't have to do the whole running around, come back and forth?
Because the end's already stuffed to capacity.
Ismark coughs. Excuse me for interrupting, but are we planning on going to our destination today, or is the plan for us to do it tomorrow?
Today, I
yeah.
think. We got up. Well, it's still early morning.
I thought we were
No
doing it
point
tomorrow.
waiting for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I thought we was doing it today. I mean, we got up early. We're gonna go get some clothes and ride on back.
That was my idea as well.
Coughs and kind of holds out her coat, revealing the map case there. If we are looking to travel to the towers, it is technically en route to our destination, so it would not be overly harmful in a way to take a bit of a detour. But if some of us are to venture to the tower and then return to Velaki,
No, let's...
I thought we'd wait at the tower for you to catch up with other
yes.
coats.
That would make more sense.
Okay, that will work fine. So, y'all go to Velaki, get the warm weather stuff, come by, pick up Casimir, we'll take Victor to the tower and get Esmeralda's cart, and then we'll meet up there and go.
Yeah, make sure to find a little one for Truffle. Pigs, I guess me and pigs have something in common. We really don't like the cold.
Yeah, I'm sure they got like a little pig-sized vest we can get. Maybe a nice parka.
We'll see what we can do.
But then, shall we?
Alright, works for me.
All right then. So, you listen, Amity, Metreon, and Kiva to Velaki, and then I will accompany Ershandir, Ismark, Arina, and Davian coughs from behind her. Oh, I didn't see who's there. And the old man with young Volokovich to the tower, and you shall meet us there, I suppose?
That works.
Yeah,
Don't
and
get eaten
Davian,
by wolves.
if he gives you any back talk, just give him the back of your head.
A roll of the eyes. Davian coughs. Right then. Are we sitting off then?
Yeah, let's get moving.
Alrighty, so with that, the lot of you departs from the encampment. Casimir kind of peering through the door and offering a small wave as you depart, and you begin making your way slowly back into the winding trails that lead away from the Vistani and Dusk Elf small settlement and back toward the village, or town perhaps, of Velaki instead. It's not long before the sound of the horses and the Vistani sounds of life soon vanish into the canopy of dark trees behind you, this foliage wood swallowing them up in the darkness. And soon you find yourselves once more on the dirt trail, passing between the old, run-down hovels and ruins that line the road just outside of the town. You descend down the trail as it meanders its way through the moist, damp earth and air back toward the settlement itself. And as you approach the gate itself, you see no sign of the guards themselves at the gates. But then, Kiva and Lillison, with a small pause, you see a pale, slightly fearful face peering around the palisade walls just at the edge of the gate, flinching away at the sight of you.
Can she, recognize them?
They seem to just be guards at the gates, or you recognize this particular face before. You see another face kind of just faintly peering around, and then yelp very slightly under the breath and vanish back behind the wall. You can see spears trembling just from out of sight.
Kiva looks at the others and is like very confused. And she's like, did I miss something? Are we suddenly terrifying?
We are quite terrifying.
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm kind of hot. And,
I take
he
offense
gestures
to
at
that, actually.
Has the party split up yet?
I would imagine that they have, unless there's any objection. We're just going to Vallaki first.
Okay, so, sorry. Once again, who is actually here?
Okay, so going to Vallaki is, apologies, Lillison, Amity, Metreon, Kiva. You've split out your separate ways. Sorry, I should have made that clear. Erthandira, Esmeralda, Ismark, Irina, Victor, Davian are heading toward the tower.
Okay, great.
Oh, so we're not at Vallaki yet.
Correct, you were just outside the gates.
Gotcha, okay.
Well, I suppose we might as well go forth, see what the situation is, but whatever the situation is, it is not our problem. Hopefully.
I'm sure they're gonna make it our problem. And with that, Kiva will just walk closer to the gates and to the cowering baby guards.
So you make your way over. You hear a trembling shout from the other side. Halt! You're not more of them, are you?
More of
who?
whom?
The dead man walking. And the man kind of peers around, holding a spear in his trembling hands, eyes wide, face pale. We'll take no dead men in these walls today.
Wait, what? Dead man?
Kiva, draws, puts a hand on her mace and is just like, my friend, you do not want to be pointing a spear at me today. Why don't you explain what's going on? I can promise you that I am alive, and all of my companions are, and she does not look at Lillison, and just waits for him to explain.
The man swallows. The devil's work. It must have been, or perhaps him looking for revenge. You've not seen them on the roads, have you? Led by... He swallows. And at that moment, you notice that it's not an ordinary guard per se. You recognize he's carrying a spear, but he's also wearing the brown cloak that's somewhat reminiscent of Lady Voctor's forces, and a small, slightly rusted scimitar at his side. He's not coming back, is he? He and his... He's not...
Who are you talking about? You mean
Bitten.
him and
The Baron come back from the grave.
Wait, what?
They marched out not long ago. You're not with them, are you? You're not more of the dead.
We're not more of the dead. I've already explained that to you. What people crawled out of grave? What are you talking about?
I don't... He looks very suspicious looking over you for a moment. Make a persuasion check.
Oh my god. Kiva will, before she does this and seeing him freaking out, she's gonna take out her dagger and slice her palm open and show him that she, bleeds, and dead people don't do that.
He
Allegedly.
visibly winces at the sight of that. I'll let you roll with advantage.
I love my badass lady. 18.
18. His trembling slows a bit, and he kind of withdraws the spear, flinching at your implied threat from earlier. Look, I suppose you don't look like the dead, but the day one of them, there were wounds or signs of the sickness, and the Baron... I knew those bruises and breaks. You're sure he's not coming back?
Listen, friend, if you don't mind, And as Metreon approaches in his Valachian woman guise, he places his hand gently on the soldier's shoulder, the guard's shoulder, and as he's looking into his eyes, he's going to go ahead and cast Charm Person.
All right, that's a Wisdom save.
I believe it is.
That is a 13.
I don't think that makes it. Why do I not remember?
What's your spell save DC?
Trying to remember. Hold on. It is 14.
14. All right, just fails then. He kind of visibly relaxes and then glances toward his two compatriots. They're still looking a little bit suspicious. Right. You're looking to get into safety, yes? In case they come back.
Yes, but who is they? What came back? Who came back?
I don't know. They came stumbling and they still had the grave dirt upon them. They were decayed, rotted in places. I could see bone in one's arm.
Why did you mention the Baron?
The Baron, it was him, but it was not him. He did not. When he spoke, it was not his voice. It must be the work of the devil. But
so he was among them.
It was a corpse. I knew it by the sight of it.
And when did they come and when did they go?
Less than an hour ago. They left on the road, heading west.
Metreon gives a very concerned look back at Kiva and Lillison and the others.
Kiva straightens up at the mention of the Baron being alive again, or at least reanimated, which frustrates her for reasons.
You know who else is on the road?
The gears are turning in Lillison's head, and she says, I don't think that they will come back to plague you. And, as she turns to the rest of her companions, I don't think that they will make any trouble for the rest of our friends either. I think we know exactly where they are going.
Kiva raises an eyebrow at Lil, but assumes that we will elaborate later. And just turns back to the guard and says, you are all quite capable people, and I trust my friend here who says that they will not be bothering you again, and that you'll be able to handle them in the very slim chance that they do. But thank you for letting us know this. It's good to keep abreast of all of the horrible things that happen here.
He gives a very slow and shaky nod, but looks askance toward Metreon, just as if expecting something more.
So you said it was only an hour ago. Did they come in search of something or someone? What did they do when they were here?
They just said in a terrible voice that they wanted out. They demanded that we open the gates and let them pass, and we did. They won't come back, right? You said they won't come back.
If they wanted to leave, I think that now that they have left, they won't harm you anymore. That their goal was to get out.
He visibly relaxes. Right. Good. Okay. Did you still want to... should we open the gates for you?
Yes, please.
Yes, right. He turns towards Demetrius. All right, let's get these open, okay? Let's get moving. And together with a grunt, they begin heaving the screeching, rusted iron gates open, opening the way into the town of Valaki.
And
he gives you a friendly nod.
And just remember these faces, will you? Next time we're here, we are friendly and alive.
Yes, very good.
Let your compatriots know.
Lillison actually pauses on the way in and stops and looks at the guy and says, what is your name?
My name?
Yes.
It's Jesper, miss.
Jesper. Be brave. Thank you.
He gives you a shaky nod and just kind of steps back to attention, one hand still on the gate. All right, are you passing inside toward the inn, I suppose?
Yeah,
Or where
but
are you-
as we do, Metron looks back at Amity. Oi, you got kind of something to send a message to Brandy. Oh, yeah.
You mean, but Livison said, I mean, that he's not going to have any problems. So you mean just send that, or?
No, I'm saying whatever dead Baron is out there walking around, they're walking around in the wilderness right now.
They are almost certainly going back to Argynvostholt.
Well, we don't know that, so just let him know.
Alright,
Let him know that.
just to be sure.
Just be on the lookout.
All right, Amity's going to send a sending over to Randy, saying, "Hey, how are you? FYI, Zombie Baron might be on road, but probably not issue." I have no idea how many words that is so far. I'm not counting. At some point, she just gets out some like terms of endearment and is interrupted by the word limit.
Receive a very confused return sending. All right. We'll be on the lookout for Zombie Baron. Very confused. Hope search goes well. Thank you. Love you. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. And so, as for the other half of the party still at Vlaki, do you have any more questions for this poor guard, or are you heading into the town?
I mean, I could make him tell me the names of his entire extended family, but I think that we are here to get warm weather clothing. Warm
Very
clothing
fair.
for cold, you know what I mean.
New clothes.
Yes. All right. So, with that, leaving your new friend behind and making your way into town to shop at the Barovian Gap. Several minutes away, traveling in the opposite direction from Vlaki and venturing further into the wilderness and unknowingly trotting across a set of fairly recent footprints in the sodden earth. Your fellow compatriots find themselves passing through the old Svalich Road as in the distance the bridge across the Lunar River begins to approach. As you do, Erthrendir, passing with Esmeralda and the others, you trudge through the old soil of the Svalich Road and begin to approach the bridge. You can see in the distance across it the Lunar River crossroads and the familiar signage that point the way forward. As you do, however, you hear a faint rustling in the tree line just south of your current position.
He nudges Esmeralda. Some following us. He's going to try and peer into the woods and see what it is.
All right, make a perception check for me.
Yes, sir. 11.
11. All right. Peering off into the tree line, you just faintly see a large, hulking lupine shadow low to the ground, amber eyes glinting at the tree line, perhaps several dozen yards away. But as soon as you make eye contact, it dips back into the undergrowth.
Erthrendir's going to fire off a first-level magic missile at it for good measure.
Very fair. Roll some damage.
9 total.
Okay, you hear a sharp yelp of surprise and pain, and then whimpering as Esmeralda kind of whips to attention, and then you hear a scattering off into the trees as the dire wolf vanishes from sight.
God, am I glad I took that spell. I think they're gone.
Irina nods. Right. I think I'm really learning not to like wolves.
Yeah, no, same. I mean, I never was a dog person, but this has kind of solidified that.
I think so. I guess we'll keep on and hope we don't meet any more of them.
If they're smart.
She gives you a nod, and with that you set off once again, leaving behind the dire wolf in the trees. You cross over the bridge, passing the silvery blue thread of the Luna River that passes through the open clearing, crossing over to the crossroads that leads toward the western half of Barovia. Passing that by, you begin bending southward along the meandering road that passes through the trees. And before long, you approach the familiar trail that splits off southward toward Arkenfastolt. It's not long, perhaps another 15 or 20 minutes or so before you begin coming into view the Raven River crossroads up ahead. But as you do, however, you hear a somewhat familiar sound coming through the thin layer of fog that clings eternally to the tree line here. You hear the sound of hooves across the stony, damp soil, and with it the sound of slightly grinding chainmail. And as you turn the corner, just from around the bend, coming from a southern trail and turning faintly in your direction, you see through the mist emerging a seemingly familiar skeletal warhorse, the rider mounted atop it, clad in ruined chainmail. You could see in the bony rider's hands the rusted lantern, lightless, as it slowly surveils the path on either side.
Has it seen us at this point?
You're pretty much out in the open. It seems to have briefly spotted you, but it doesn't seem to be taking any interest in you. You see its socketless, its eyeless sockets kind of linger upon you for a half moment before disregarding you and just searching around the area.
He steps protectively in front of Victor and hisses to the others, "Off the road. Let him pass."
Victor does not take long to respond, just somewhat trembling, kind of quickly moves out of the way, Davian ushering the others alongside. The rider doesn't even pay you any heed, as slowly he, or she, or they, whatever they once were, that identity long since lost to the mists of time, nudges the skeletal horse faintly with a bony knee. The horse turns and begins cantering down the road in your direction, passing by your small pocket on the side of the road, before slowly vanishing around the bend toward the east. You hear the sound of the hoof beats slowly recede into the distance, the clinking chainmail vanishing before it's muffled up by the fog.
I am very ready to get out of here. If it means I can travel 2 hours without running into another one of those, I'll be very happy. Let's get to the tower.
Esmeralda gives you a nod, and with that, you continue on, traveling forward toward the crossroads and branching off toward the north path as you venture off toward Lake Baratok. Back in Vallaki, however, the group of you find yourselves passing forth through the town of Vallaki onward toward your destination. Where are you headed? The Blue Water Inn, Arisek's Dockyard?
I don't know. I think this is a get in, get out, right, guys? Or no?
That was Kiva's understanding.
Unless Lillison has any objections.
No, I think we're literally just getting clothing and leaving.
All right. With that, you together make your way across the town, passing by the Blue Water Inn without a second thought, and traversing your way toward the eastern side of town before passing in to the familiar small enclosure of the Arisek's Dockyard. You can see
Amity's
here
casting detect magic
Yes?
on the way, so tell me if there's any magic in the stockyard.
Okay. You do not see any magic in the stockyard. Glancing around, you can see, despite what the image would tell you, no sign of Octavio's wagon that once waited here. You see the warehouses around the exterior, several small sheds and crates and barrels stacked in numerous places, and the familiar warehouse where previously you've met the Araseks themselves. I presume that is where you were venturing?
Yeah, I mean, that's... Unless there's any other place that we've seen that has, like warm weather clothes, yeah.
You've probably ascertained that this is warm weather clothes are more of a specialized piece of gear for those who would need it for a certain purpose. They're not something you would necessarily be likely to find at a simple clothing store. And from what you can tell, this general store is probably the most accessible place to find things on demand.
Yeah, we can go. Metron actually turns to the others. So I've got a bit of a complicated relationship with the people in this here yard. So I'm going to stay in this, but I might change out of it. Just don't be freaked out.
Before he goes in, Kiva is going to cast Bless upon Metreon. And Lillison, because I can bless 3 creatures of my choice. And Amity. Fuck it, let's go. Yeah, I don't know if we have to do, like, anything. But Kiva will do that on Amity, Lillison, and Metreon, and hopefully that is a persuasive thing. Or if they make an attack roll, for whatever reason. I don't know why we would do that. They have a D4.
All right, so as you cast the spell, you hear the soft sound of greenery twisting. You think you hear in the distance the sound of a bird call echoing. And as you watch, just flowing faintly across your forearms, you see soft, shimmering, dark green vines that intertwine across your wrists and forearms, blooming with look like small purple flowers, lilies or perhaps nightshades, that open wide, blooming for a moment, and then slowly fade, their petals falling to the floor, into the muck below before vanishing into the ether. You feel a strange sense of cold across your body, but not a chill cold, but a sense of awareness, wakiness, a focus that comes upon you, and a strength to your limbs that you hadn't felt before.
And I'm sorry, that adds a D4 to our rolls, right?
Any attack roll or saving throw that you make.
Okay, cool.
Okay. With that, if you'd like to proceed inside.
Yeah, we're going.
All right, stepping inside the group of you see the small general store area. You see the kind of old rundown counter at one side, the shelves groaning with a number of items, pieces of gear. You see ropes and a hooded lantern, as well as a set of boots on another. Just behind the desk, just kind of sitting there and just staring off into the distance, you see the familiar form of Gunther Arasek, who kind of snaps to attention as you walk in. Oh, well, right, you looking to buy something?
Oh, curious, actually. My companions and I were thinking of going into the mountains, and it can be quite cold there. What do you have in the way of cold weather gear? Coats, jackets, gloves, shoes?
Yeah, we got a few things. I reckon I could piece them together for you if you're looking to buy some. He kind of squints toward you. How many sets are you looking to buy for the 4 Eves?
How many? And Matran looks back at the others. How many?
9, I think.
Well, no, I mean, but how much gear do we need?
Enough for 9 people? I don't understand your question.
Enough for 9 people. Would that be accommodating? And a pig.
Yeah, one child size.
Yes.
He squints toward you again, looking slightly confused by the mention of the pig, but then kind of looks down at the ledger at the middle of his desk, a ledger that Lillison notes is quite blank, coughs, sniffles a bit, and kind of wipes away a loogie that's kind of been hanging from his nose and looks up at you and says, "Right, that'll be 450 gold pieces."
Now, I know that you have a certain amount of generosity in you, and I can tell that you're very accommodating. Have you considered sponsoring a group like such as ourselves? Perhaps gratis for us in exchange for promotion. I think I would suggest that it's a great promotional move for you. And I'm going to go ahead and try and cast suggestion.
All right, that's what, a wisdom saving throw?
Yes.
All right. And just so you're aware, actually, no, you're already aware from the Vistani thing, but I'll mention it again. You are, visibly, using the somatic components and stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be black smoke coming out of my mouth, so.
Very fair. All right. That is an 8. You watch as the black smoke kind of curls out from your lips. The man looks at it in surprise for a moment, and then it wisps into his nostrils, ears, and eyes, and he... Then his lids come down, kind of half-lidded, and he says, "Right, I think that sounds like a mighty fine proposal. What's a promotion?"
Well, we want to make sure that anyone who comes to Vallaki knows that you are the place to go for the latest in fashions and accessories, equipment, anything that anyone might need. And, we will be traveling, so anyone who encounters us, we will, they'll comment on how appropriate we are dressed, and we'll say, "It was Arasak. It was the stockyard. It was you who did it."
He nods, kind of stroking the few sprigs of hairs on his chin. "Right, I think that sounds like a good idea. Yeah,
I think it does too.
More business for the stockyard. Yeah. Right, I'll fetch them for you. You said 9 for the 9 of the lot, and then 1 for the little one."
Yes.
Right, just give me. I'll need maybe a quarter of an hour to get all together.
Oh, take your time. Take your time. We'll be here. We'll be back. Whatever.
Right. And kind of nods somewhat absently, and then just kind of ambles off into the back room of the warehouse.
Well, kids, we got now.
Quarter
Anyone
of an hour.
fancy a drink?
You ain't gonna tell me twice.
Isn't there no more wine?
Well, there has to be
the
something.
land.
And water, whatever.
Water? Oh, hell. I mean, I can drink that too.
Well, I will stay here for a quarter of an hour just in case anything goes wrong. Perhaps we should tell the Martikovs about the revenants.
Okay, yeah. Should
Yeah.
I can run over and meet you back here in 15?
Amity, what you want to do? You want to wait and get the pig's clothes, or?
Yeah, I mean, not much we can do in 15 minutes. I don't know, just browse around, see if there's any magic in the surrounding blocks.
All right, I'll come with you then. Kiwi, you can handle yourself, right?
I'd like
Yeah,
to.
guide me to any interesting places you think there might be magic.
All right. Lil, wait here. Don't go meeting with any horrible despots this time, yeah?
This time, no.
And yeah, Metreon will walk with Amity, just kind of like trying to point out different places where anything that might look like might have been touched, maybe even like going towards, if it's close enough, going towards the graveyard to see like if, graves were dug out or something.
So wait, are you heading all the way toward the graveyard?
Well, if it's not close enough within the 15 minute
it's gonna
walk,
be it's gonna be like a 10+ minute walk.
Okay.
Maybe, like around a 10-minute walk, probably.
Are we not on the same side of the town from where
Actually,
we
no.
are?
It's almost a full mile. Yeah, you're on the opposite side of town from the graveyard. It's gonna be like a good 15 minutes to walk to the graveyard.
Yeah, we'll pass. Unless Amity, you want to go check it out.
Not in 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe on the way back.
All right. Rock.
Oh, maybe is Fiona's house nearby?
Hers is not particularly nearby. It'd probably take around, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes to get there.
Yeah, I mean, we could scope it out if you want.
Yeah, swing by.
All right. So while I guess Lillison is remaining behind, Kiva, you were going to the Blue Water Inn?
Yeah, to let them know about the Revenant situation.
All right, very good. So with that, Kiva makes her way toward the Blue Water Inn, Metreon and Amity taking a stroll up on the northern path of the intersection toward Doctor House, and Lillison remaining behind for the shopping spree. So, as a group of you split up, Kiva, you step toward the front part of the Blue Water Inn. There, just outside, you see, just beside the well there, the familiar sight of Erwin Mardukov just slowly raising a bucket out from the interior of the well, sloshing with water. He picks it up, kind of pulls it aside, then glances up and sees you coming. Well, second good morning, welcome back.
Not staying for long, just getting some cold weather clothing before we head out, but just wanted to check in with you on the recent undead situation that seems to be plaguing the guards, at least.
He gives you a nod. Yes, I've heard about it quite recently. You're the second person to notify me in the past 10 minutes. I don't mean that as an insulting way. I'm very appreciative. Perhaps you've heard something that I've not. I merely heard that there was some disturbance at the gates. Evidently the Baron walks again, something of that nature.
Yes, Lillison believes that they won't be coming back here. We think we know where they're going, actually.
Oh, really? That's good news if they're not coming back. You're sure they're not a threat to the town? I'm afraid I've limited knowledge of the Walking Dead myself.
No, we went to that Argenvost, the dragon's old keep. There were these creatures there called revenants, and in order to get out, we had to dispatch some of them. We think that somehow they wound up in those bodies and are going back to keep watch, like they were supposed to.
He gives a slow nod, stroking his beard with one hand as he holds the bucket with the other. Fascinating. I'd not known anything of the sort. This is a very helpful finding. Thank you. I might have to, if you have time later, I might have to interrogate you further about your findings at the manor. It's been such a black spot on our mental maps for such a long time. It's really intriguing, the sheer scale of the things you've uncovered in your brief time here.
It's almost like we've designed it that way. No, yeah, Kiva looks momentarily overwhelmed, and I think it's because she feels that she can be like more vulnerable around Erwin. But then she sort of, dusts off her shoulders and straightens back up and just goes, "Well, it's nothing we can't handle. But I don't think they'll be plaguing your town. And if they are, we have Davian with us, and I'm sure there's a way to send a message."
He flinches slightly, his face growing a bit stony at the mention of his father's name. Then he coughs and says, "Yes, I'm sure there must be some way. We'll, if anything comes up, I'm sure we can find some way of sharing correspondence. Now that we, given that what we know of, you know where we are, and I presume we know approximately where you're headed. So hopefully there should not be any overly difficult communications if need be."
Yeah, look, after this, I think there's really only one place left for us to go. And I don't know if we'll be stopping here in between or going right there, or if we'll even make it back from this place that we're going. Who knows? Just thank you for your hospitality and your friendship and sharing your home with us as often as you have. We owe you our lives more times over than Earthrendir and I even have, reincarnation-wise, but it's been an honor to make your acquaintance and the acquaintance of your family.
He chuckles quietly and then steps forward and puts a hand on your shoulder. Funny that. I was about to say the same thing. He gives you a very warm smile. We've known this for a long time, since meeting you, at least entertained the notion, especially as of late, but when you shared that blade that you found in front of my family last night, you gave not only us but our children a sense of hope that my family is not known for generations. So, whatever debt you might think you owe us, know that it has more than been repaid, and that should that you wish to take a rest once more at the Blue Water Inn, either before your venture or upon your triumphant return, know that we'll be waiting for you. All right?
Kiva gives him... It's a smile that's a little bit watery. She's got something glinting in her eyes, but she pulls him into a nice tight hug, and then sort of pulls back and keeps her hands on his shoulders, gives him a squeeze, and says, "We'll see you when we get back then."
He grunts a little bit in surprise, some of the air going out of him as you take him in the hug, but then he lets himself get swept up into it and holds you tight too, just a big gruff bear hug, and says softly, "Stay safe, all right? And we'll see you soon."
You too, my friend. And with a little wave, she'll head back to the stockyard. I fucking love the Martikovs so much.
He gives you a smile and a wave and begins pulling the pail of water back into the inn. Slightly northward of Kiva's brief yet heartwarming encounter, Metreon and Amity were looking for trouble. You pass northward past the cast iron gates of the Vokter estate. You can see there at the gates a single dark-cloaked figure, a scimitar at the side, just kind of listlessly watching the road, but occasionally just kind of tossing a pebble up and down in the hand. The lights themselves are half lit, half curtained. Doesn't seem to be overmuch activity there at the moment. You're just looking around to detect magic, is that it?
Yeah, just circling that house, orbiting it.
All right, well, you take a quick moment to walk around. Are you just kind of patrolling the house, like, in open sight? Are you, like, sneaking? There does seem to be a guard stationed outside.
Oh, like at the front door?
Like at the front gate, just kind of watching the street.
Amity, you want to be discreet about this, or you don't really care about it?
So is the guard stopping anyone from getting even close to the house? Or are they standing at the front door of the house?
Just standing at the front gate of the path that leads to the front door. Not really doing anything overtly, but just kind of to let people know that there's someone there.
Right. So we couldn't reach the wooden walls of the house without, like, going through some kind of fence?
There's just a little fence just kind of off to the side of the road. There's not really much on the sides of it. It's kind of next to some other houses. So if you want, you could kind of make your way around the edges. It's just you wouldn't see very far inside unless you got, like, close enough to the house for someone else to see you getting very close to the house.
All right, Amity's going to sort of motion Metreon to maybe go around the back. Unless he has a more devious idea.
Well, do you want me to come with you for protection? Because no one's going to think of me as anything. He gestures at his disguise.
If this is actually, dangerous, then we should just go back. right?
Well, I mean, a little danger don't hurt, right? I mean, it's kind of what we do now.
Wow, I guess it is.
Yeah. I mean, when I say it out loud, it makes sense. Huh. Well, I'll go around the back if you want. If you want to stick to the front.
All right, let's go around the back. Hop the
okay.
fence where he can't see us.
All right, let's go.
All right, so you're trying to kind of skulk out of the way just so the guard doesn't see you, and the guard looks pretty bored, so you don't think it's going to be too difficult. But if you'd like, you can make a stealth check as you kind of try to circumvent and make your way around the outside of the estate.
Sure. And is our bless still active?
How long does that last, Kiva?
1 minute.
No.
It is
Nope.
over.
Cool. 19.
19, and for Amity?
Foundry's not loading, so I don't know my modifier, but I rolled
Okay.
a 3 at home.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Rip.
So, for the sake of this thing, just because it is a group check, only half of you need to succeed. So Metron succeeded. You kind of like, for a moment, almost splash in a puddle, but then Metron sees and kind of jerks you back before you do so, drawing attention to yourself. And as the guard kind of yawns loudly and just kind of fiddles with the pebble they're holding, you continue making your way around the side and around the back, out of sight. As you kind of slowly make your way around, you're just kind of casing the joint very slowly, looking for detect magic, anything that might pick up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, as you kind of make your way slowly around, nothing catches your attention. No glimmers of detect magic, no magical auras that you can detect. It seems to just be a house.
Amity shrugs and shakes her head, then motions to go back over the fence, rather than sort of plastering herself up against the front of the house where the guard might be.
Is there anything else that you'd like to do here for now?
No, I'm just sort of guiding, or not guiding, but I'm following Amity, making sure that, she stays out of trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amity, are you sticking around or heading back?
After we climb back over the fence, having not detected any magic. I mean, we're on a 15-minute time limit. We're not going to go on a whole adventure here.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Yeah. Tell me if I see anything insane through one of the windows, though. Just going to say, all right, I guess if they have any magic, it's behind some pretty thick wood and or stone, I guess.
Yeah, listen, it don't concern us too much right now. Let's just
I
get
guess
back.
not. And we get back safely with no one interrupting us. Am I allowed to say that?
All right. Yes, you do. And as you make your way back there, Lillison, you remain at Arisek Stockyard, and not 15 minutes, but maybe, 20 minutes or so go past before you hear shuffling from the back room, and Arisek comes kind of shuffling back out, carrying an absolutely enormous mound of nearly a dozen sets of winter clothes, not boxed, not neatly folded, just a stack of like assorted, what seems like hats and gloves and coats and boots, and just kind of says, "Right, well, here you go then." And whether you like it or not, he's going to try to just drop it in your arms. It is nearly as tall as you are.
Lillison has had the past 20 minutes to realize slowly, with a sense of dawning horror, that she is one very small girl and cannot carry all this stuff. And, staggering a little bit under the weight of all of this gear, she says, "Do you have a cart or something that we can use?"
He frowns, shaking his head. "Nope. Don't think I got no cart."
"We could paint it very nicely with your logo."
"What's the logo?"
With a sign advertising your store."
And at this moment, Kiva re-enters the general store.
Yeah, Kiva just sees Lilith. Well, doesn't see Lilith and just sees a pile of clothes with legs, and will go over and assist.
"Thank you."
Gunther Arasek just kind of nods, looking at his handiwork. Right, and you're gonna tell him where you got it, yeah?
Absolutely.
I will
Everybody.
tell every single person that I meet.
Right, and just nods. Okay, then. And moves back behind the counter. Look, anything else you're gonna be needing for this promotion?
Food.
And any,
Oh yes, rope. We needed rope.
rope and food or rations would be super helpful.
Okay. Right, rope then. If you're looking for, I could give you 50 feet of Hampton rope for 5 gold pieces.
That'll work. We'll pay for that one.
Right, and he just kind of reaches off a hook just behind him on the shelf and plops it on the table, looking at you expectantly with his hand out.
Lillison will actually just pay him the 5 gold. She wants to not be carrying all this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Fair. All right, so you now have 50 feet of rope, and we'll just say that you're able to acquire rations as need be.
Excellent.
Cool.
All right, and it's not long after this that Amity and Metron return from their escapades. And see Kiva holding 9 sets of cold winter clothing jumbled together in a big pack.
Oh, look at you there. And Metron slaps her on the back really heartily.
Kiva does her best to maintain a grip on all of the clothes and also give him a murderous look from behind a jacket.
You need help with that?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Amity.
She, kicks out in front of her to try to kick Metron on the back of his leg.
Ow. She got big arms today. She's a farmhand.
All right, I'm sure together we can carry it. Amity tries to take as many as she can off of Kiva.
Yeah, she'll just sort of split the pile with her. She's not gonna try to overload Amity, but she will make sure that Amity's pile has the pig parka for the baby. Oh, and can we just say that a baby Bjorn was included in the cold weather clothing for Truffle?
A baby what now?
A baby Bjorn. You know, those things that you carry babies in.
Strap him to your back.
Or your front.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, your front, yeah.
Like a little baby carrier.
Yeah, like a papoose.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Sure. We'll say that it comes in as part of the set. We'll say.
Yay!
All right,
All
guys.
right.
Let's make sure that Randy and Victor didn't turn each other into newts or something. Shall we?
I suppose we shall. And Lillison casts Mage Hand to help her carry her share of the portion.
Yeah, Metron takes his jacket off, as well as the hat, and wraps them around him, and we'll walk ahead of the party. Lead them out of Vallaki.
Okay. With that, the group of you departs Arasek's dockyard, moving once more toward the western gates of Vallaki, this time passing by the Blue Water Inn and not seeing any familiar Marta clubs outside, but Kiva at least feeling a small shimmer of warmth in your chest as you pass by, remembering your earlier conversation and remembering that there, whatever may be, a place for you to return back to. And it's not long before you find yourselves at the western gates, passing beyond the, still, for the moment, for another 6 minutes or so, friendly guard, who kind of nods you past, waving you into the tree line as the gate closes behind you. And with that, you're once more on the road, passing westward toward the tower. And that, I believe, is where we will take our break for now. Okay, then. So, we will pick up back after a bit longer of a break than usual this week, just due to the length of this week's fireside chat. 20 minutes rather than 15, so we'll see you all back here in 20 minutes. As always, you do have a few other messages from our D&D community. This week's fireside chat is with Abyssal Brews, the creator of the cycle homebrew rules for dying and unconscious PCs. So we do hope you enjoy. We hope it's educational, and we hope to see you back here soon. Enjoy.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features where I, your host Job Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we're talking to Matthew Ross, a graphic designer and writer for Abyssal Brews, about death mechanics and homebrew in D&D. What were your experiences with the death save mechanics in 5e that inspired you to create the cycle?
Absolutely. So for myself, there's been an ongoing issue with kind of a core combat situation that happens regularly in 5e, which is the calcification of combat, where due to attacks of opportunity and things of that nature, oftentimes people will run into melee range, specifically melee characters, and they will get kind of stuck there for a long period of time. They won't move from person to person. They won't move around to attack, a different entity. And oftentimes it ends up with this slap fight that happens between the player character and whatever the NPC is that they're facing. So whenever that happens, they will just go back and forth until, inevitably a death occurs, whatever that death may be, whether it is the death of the NPC and then they move on to the next one, or the character, they go unconscious when they hit 0 HP. And a side effect of that came about was that melee characters would often get hit, fall to 0 HP, go unconscious, lay on the ground for a turn. They would then get healed, be able to stand up using half of their movement, but they still don't want to go anywhere, right? They still have this situation where they can't get out of melee range. They still feel like they're locked in this fight with whatever the NPC is that's closest to them. And they continually just get knocked down, get healed, stand up, get knocked down, get a potion poured down their throat, and then stand back up. I referred to this as the consciousness yo-yo. It's this back and forth system where you never really get out of it until the combat resolves. So I felt like that was probably an unintended consequence of the attacks of opportunity, the systems that are all at play for melee that don't necessarily come in for range at all situations. So it ends up being that a character death can be this monumental moment in a campaign. It can be something that really feels impactful and should convey some sort of sense of feeling, but instead what you got were people kind of locked into this back and forth that maybe eventually played out that they failed enough death saving throws to not be able to stand back up, and that was kind of the end of their character. There was no cinematic moment. There was no opportunity for them to kind of choose how their character would handle themselves, knowing that death was potentially imminent. So they would have a real kind of issue where they didn't feel like their death was meaningful. And that was my biggest problem. Death saves, they have their purpose, of course, but my biggest problem was just the stripping of a player's agency, the feeling that they didn't have a choice or an impact when they were on their way out.
How did you approach homebrewing a solution?
So, I'm a graphic designer in my normal, everyday, real human life that doesn't have fun and fancy magics. And in my graphic design life, the creative process is kind of an ongoing, developing cycle that I am very, very familiar with. And one of the necessary steps that you go through whenever you are working on a creative process is goal setting. You look at the end of the product and you figure out exactly what it is that you want. Perhaps you are talking about color theory, or perhaps you're talking about an advertising goal, so on and so forth. but there is always this end goal that you're working towards. And in order to get to that end goal, you need to have a really key starting point, a cornerstone to stand upon whenever you are getting started. And that cornerstone are often what we refer to as design pillars. So a design pillar would be, you know that you want it to have kind of a minimal aesthetic with various other calls to action associated with it. So that would be a design pillar, something of that nature. So for me, whenever I start developing a homebrew system, that is exactly the same process I go to. I apply the creative process that I do for graphic design into homebrew. So I start with goal setting. Well, the goal is I want to make a better death mechanic. And then I need some pillars, some tenets to stand upon. And for me, I started looking into what I didn't like about the death system in 5e, trying to translate that into what I could provide with homebrew in order to get to that end goal of a better death mechanic. So I came up with 3 pillars, 3 tenets for myself that I wanted to stick to for the entirety of the design process. And I think that it's very important as you're going through these to kind of keep referencing those tenets with every step that you take and make sure that everything that you're including is calling back to those. So the 3 tenets that I chose to stick with were agency. So I wanted to return player agency, to give them a choice, to give them something that they can do rather than just waiting for their turn to roll their death save. Furthermore, I wanted to maintain fear. Fear is an important driver, but fear of hitting 0 HP should still be there. You don't want to give players this opportunity where they're using it as a second health bar or something. My 3rd tenet that I wanted to maintain was roleplay, because for myself, I run a very, very RP heavy campaign. It's always been my style. I like talking, I like skill checks, I like interacting with players and political intrigue and things of those natures. So for me, I wanted to make sure that roleplay was a core tenet from the very start. So those were my 3: agency, fear, roleplay. Once I had those set, everything in the rest of the system was harkening back to those original tenets.
How did you implement these tenets?
The tenets were my guidelines as I went through, but the first thing that I wanted to return was player agency. The player agency part of this came from just simply removing unconsciousness. Unconsciousness can be good as, a side effect of a sleep or something like that, but using it as the death mechanic felt really unrewarding and, as I said, kind of removed the agency. So I stripped that away immediately. That was my first thing. So I was thinking, okay, well, I want to get rid of unconsciousness. I want to get rid of the consciousness yo-yo that I had talked about previously. When you get rid of something that big, you need to take some big steps to keep the fear, which was my 2nd tenet. What I did from there was bring in some very negative consequences for being in the cycle, as it were. I added this negative health system that once a character hits 0, they can go into negatives, and then they start saving against half of the negative amount of HP that they have. That kind of tells them, well, you better get out of danger, or if you're going to stay, you need to understand that the more damage you take, the harder it's going to be for you to save against it regularly. So that's why I needed some additional elements to bring the fear back into it, right? If they were able to stand up, if they were able to continue to act like I wanted them to, I needed to give them some things that were bad. So things like removing a little bit of their movement speed, giving their attacks disadvantage, giving saves against their attacks advantage, several different things that kept the fear in there. And also, death saves carry over every time that you fail one until you take a long rest. There's a reset then. Whenever you have this idea that, oh, now whenever I drop into the cycle, yeah, I'm not unconscious, but I still do not want to actively continue to engage. I want to seek safety, and I want to seek the ability to replenish myself, whether via a healing spell or a potion, whatever it may be. You want to get yourself out of this scary situation where your attacks are having disadvantage and attacks against you are hitting harder and so on, and you're not moving as quickly. It doesn't feel good to be in the cycle. And furthermore, to keep that fear, I added in an instant death mechanic that if you reach the negative value of your positive HP, whatever that is, you die instantly. Basically, the idea being that the body can only take so much before it gives out. So whenever you have those kind of things working together, you get the agency back of a player saying, wow, okay, now I know all of these things are bad and they're happening to me and I need to get out of this situation. But what if they decide, no, I don't want to get out of this situation? And this is where my third tenant came in for roleplay. Roleplay was actually the one that came in the latest into this development cycle, and it didn't really click until I started into playtesting it. So I was getting reports of people saying, well, some of the characters, being the pious and altruistic types that they were sacrificing themselves in order to save the rest of the party, to give the party a reasonable chance to escape. And I found that really interesting from a roleplay perspective. The idea that now a player character could choose the fight or flight that was missing from death previously for me. So that tenant came in just from the nature of the system, allowing this idea of, am I going to stay or go? Should I hide? Should I perhaps charge back in and give my friends a chance to get out while I am almost certainly facing death? It gave an opportunity for heroic sacrifice that wasn't previously there. So bringing those things together, kind of the agency of being able to decide what your character does in negative HP, the fear of all the bad parts that happen whenever you are knocked into the cycle, and the roleplay aspect of being able to choose that your character perhaps runs away or that they stay and bravely fight. Between those three things, those three tenets finally did come together just with the various systems that I had in place that I've explained.
What suggestions would you give to other dungeon masters who are also looking to create homebrew of their own?
I'm a big fan of everybody taking the systems that are in front of them and developing whatever they feel is necessary in order to make them work for their table. Ultimately, the DMG and the PHB are really great resources for you to begin your D&D adventure, but if you are running into systems regularly where your players are experiencing what I call pain points, they're experiencing things that don't feel good to play. They're saying, oh, well, you know, this felt a little off-putting, or this didn't feel like I had a whole lot of choice. That's a good way to identify your start point for homebrew. So if you're looking for something to make, think about those little kind of nagging complaints that everyone seems to have at a table. If you're running into them over and over again, and not just once or twice, that's a great opportunity for identifying homebrew. From that point, you just need to start into your tenants, figure out exactly what you're hoping to accomplish and finalize with this. And then after that, start with tweaking a lot. Get it in front of as many eyes as you can and get them playing it. Listen to their feedback and tweak the system early and often. You are more than likely going to run into a million scenarios that you never even thought of. For example, with the cycle, I don't know how, but I somehow missed the entire stabilization mechanic whenever I did my first iteration of the cycle, which was quickly pointed out to me by a wonderful friend of mine who was in my playtesting group. So I had to think of a solution on the spot, then go back and figure out a better solution. But that iterative process should be core to you if you're designing homebrew. You're never truly done with a system. You can continue to tweak it, you can continue to mess around with little parts of it, and make sure that it gets into a good enough state for you to perhaps share. But I would say never be happy with it until you feel like all of those little problems have been identified. Your first pass will always be a bit of a mess. That's okay. Just keep working at it. You'll get somewhere comfortable. I think for a lot of us, we tend to have this feeling of necessary perfection where a DM doesn't want to present an unfinished material. But I think it's very important for your unfinished materials to get in front of as many eyes as possible early. People are going to point things out that you never expected. That is crucial because you need to have that ongoing problem solving to create a successful homebrew, in my opinion. Another big part is don't be afraid to kill a part of the system that you perhaps love if it's not working. This is a concept in writing, kill your darlings. That's an often stated thing in writing, but it's true in homebrew as well. The things that you really hold on to and that you really think are necessary sometimes aren't. An early example of this in the cycle was I had a system tacked onto this that had various consequences and injuries that would go along with failing a cycle saving throw. And what I found was that that was just completely messing up the streamlined feel of it. Felt a little too clunky whenever there was a more obvious solution, which was just making sure that death saves were not wiped whenever you got back out of the cycle. It was a much more elegant solution to do it that way, and that little extra system that was tacked onto it was completely unnecessary. So don't be afraid to kill a part of the system that just, even if you love it, don't be afraid to rip that out of there. And as I said, listening to that feedback after you share it. I've continued to listen to feedback from the community and tweak things as needed ongoing. Just take it as an opportunity for growth. Most people are out here trying to give you helpful critique, so don't be too attached to it to the point where you're not going to listen to that feedback. Allow it as an opportunity for creative growth, and hopefully you'll end up with something that you really love.
Thank you so much. Where can people find you and your work?
Yeah, so Abyssal Brews is a team of two people, myself and my wonderful illustrator, Fernando Dominguez. You can find all of our work on our website, abyssalbrews.com. We are also present on Twitter and Instagram at Abyssal Brews.
And welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. As always, before we get started, we just have a few quick announcements. As always, thank you to our continuing virtual tabletop sponsor for this campaign, Foundry VTT. I know the pandemic for many is hopefully coming to a close and folks are getting out there and playing in their local game stores or at home with friends. But if you are still playing digitally, or if you are looking for a helpful digital tabletop layout for your combats or other purposes, Foundry is certainly a place to look. A big shout out as well to our new sponsor, which we are very proud and grateful to share, The Forge, an integrated hosting service for your Foundry Virtual Tabletops games. We actually just switched. The way The Forge works is, instead of hosting the Foundry application and files on your own computer, you host it on their servers. And as such, it's always available, it's always running, it can handle updates, it can handle mod installations, handle hosting, content and other things. We've had a great time with it so far. Affordable, pretty easy to use, and a good time. Thus far, since we switched, thankfully, no one has had to worry about my really janky PC or my shitty internet connection. So if you're someone who faces any of those issues, highly encourage you to check them out. Or if you're just someone who wants to have a bit of an easier time managing your Foundry experience, highly recommend The Forge. Go check them out. So that is it for our sponsors. So, Twy, how are we doing on Twitch?
Hello, lovely people. It is a very important day today. Do you know what it is? I don't think you do. It's very relevant to our interests. It is the day after it was 100 days till Halloween. It's 98 days till Halloween, fuckers. It's a holiday, and if you can't have celebrated 2 days ago because you forgot, then celebrate now by supporting our Curse of Strahd on Twitch. We have a lot of stuff to offer, such as emotes of cackling hags and brooding vampires, and also the knowledge that we carry on the Halloween spirit 24/7. Thank you very much. Serena?
Oh, that was a lovely welcome back. Oh my god. If you guys like what you are listening to, you can join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rcurseofstrahd, for all of our past sessions, our amazing fireside chat library, video essays, and highlights from the stream. As always, if you have any memes or questions, or just want to say hi, you can reach out to us on Twitter or via email, twicebittencos@gmail.com.
All right, thank you, Twy and Serena. With that, I think those are all of the announcements we need to get through today. So, thank you to everyone for sticking around, and let's dive right back in to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. Erzrundir, leading your motley crew of Ismark, Irina, Davian, Victor, and Esmeralda through the woods of the Old Svalich Road, and leaving behind the skeletal rider that you recently encountered. It's not long before you reach the tree line and find yourselves coming out onto the cold mountain lake, enclosed by the misty woods and rocky bluffs. The old tower, weathered and cracked with age, stares down upon you from its place amidst the causeway and the small island at the center of Lake Baratok, the thick fog creeping across the surface, the entranceway looking dark and slightly cracked beneath the arrow holes and gouged windows that look out over the expanse of the woods behind you. You can see faintly there Esmeralda's wagon just sitting quietly off to the side of the tower by the water as the chill surface of the lake just laps gently against the muddy, sandy sides of the causeway and island. At the sight of it, you hear a faint, slightly strangled noise from Victor. Where's this wizard's tower you were talking about?
You're looking at it. Time hasn't been kind, but trust me, it's a lot more than it seems on appearance.
Are you sure about that? It looks rather, Are you sure it's not full of rats?
Earth lies. Yep. No, I'm sure. I've checked. The defenses have kept most everything out. It may not look it, but it is probably the most secure building in this valley besides the castle.
For the rats, I'll let you make a deception check.
That was history. Why did that... 8.
Natural 1. Victor just kind of looks at you slightly suspiciously. I suppose the books I've read do say something about things created by wizards not entirely being what they seem. You're sure that this is one of them?
I'm sure. Actually, let me show you. There's a few things you need to know if you're going to be staying here for a bit, most of which is how not to get yourself killed. So...
He immediately straightens up.
Yeah. So, he walks him to the door. First things first. Try and cast a spell. Just anything.
He frowns and begins moving his hands through the air, whispering something and clutching something hanging around his neck. He blinks. Nothing happens. Looks at you with wild eyes. What's going on? Why is magic not working? What did you do to me?
I didn't do anything to you. Step about 5 feet to the left and try it again.
He gives you a rather shaky nod. Steps about 5 feet to the left and repeats the motions that he made, slightly differently this time. This time you see a small flickering blue-tinged light appear just at the center of his palm, and he shudders, exhales and nods, turns back to the tower as it extinguishes. So, wait, what do you mean to say that this tower actually
suppresses
doesn't allow
magic?
Gods, that's impossible. Who could do such a thing?
Well, an archmage. They are conniving bastards, and this one, I believe, managed to duplicate the effect of the spell Anti-Magic Field and bind it to the tower itself. It's a narrow radius, so if you just, step outside, you'll be able to use your magic fine, but while you're inside, and more importantly, while anything or anyone else is trying to cast magic at or inside this place, it's a no-go.
He gives a slow nod. Right, okay. He's starting to look a little bit excited, actually, but a little unsure of it. So how do we get inside, then?
Earthrendeer winces a little bit, and then, well, it's a puzzle. You see these metal markings on the door?
He nods.
Little stick figure represents you. You follow the line around in order and do the arm motions, and that will open the door. If you do them wrong, or try and get in another way, I have been told something horrible happens. Don't do that. And Aerith will actually wholeheartedly do the motions, going full into it as he. And
all right, are you doing it in front of the tower?
Yes.
Like you're trying to open the door? All right.
Yep.
You do so, and the door clicks and opens very slightly. Victor nods. Right, and then we just go in, yes?
Yep. Caution number 3 as they step inside. Do not...
As you step inside, you notice Esmeralda looking at you with a slight look of disappointment.
He just looks at her and shakes his head. I don't think
she sighs.
Yeah.
Chuckles under her breath and sticks back and starts poking around in her wagon, leaving the two of you to go inside.
He will walk around the clay golems and fix Victor with this time, a very intense gaze. Number 3. I know you're going to be tempted to experiment and mess with this place. I would, and by would I mean have. And he points at the golems. Do not touch these. I have seen what these can do to human flesh. You would be dead before you made it 5 feet if they come alive in a way you don't want.
He swallows, looking like he's about to say something, and then looks down at his hands, and you see a flicker of, oh, right, I can't use magic in here, across his eyes. And then he swallows again and looks up at you and gives you a slightly shaky nod. So, what do they do then? What are they here for? They're just guards, sentries?
Guards, and they pull the elevator.
The what?
Remind me, how have I seen the way to get the elevator to trigger? Just stand on the platform?
You saw Esmeralda stand on the platform and say up. Or fourth, she said fourth floor.
Okay. He'll step onto there and gesture Victor to do the same, and then do that.
He'll follow. All right.
Up!
You hear the golems begin to shake and shudder to life, beginning to pull on the creaking, rusting chains as slowly the elevator, very shakily, shuddering, sickeningly back and forth from side to side. Victor actually stumbles and has to clutch onto one of the chains for a moment to steady himself, begins ascending through the tower. You see a look of slowly dawning horror pass his face as you pass the second floor, decrepit, dripping with water, holes everywhere. The third floor, the shadow on his face grows further as he spies the massive gaping hole in the side of the wall. And then he relaxes somewhat when you reach the fourth floor and the somewhat normal-looking stove, the bed, the suit of armor standing there. Right, I'm presuming I don't have to be on the other floors, right?
I would strongly suggest you don't. Those don't look load-bearing.
Good. Very good. Yes, this should... I suppose these accommodations should work.
Yep, and in a few minutes, I'm going to go cut a bunch of firewood to make sure you're sorted for a few days at least. Past that, you might need to cut your own, but hopefully it shouldn't get too cold.
Right, good. I suppose I'll settle in then.
Yeah. And, Aerith looks contemplative for a moment. Do you want anything to read? I've got a few books in my pack. They might not be precisely your style, but I don't want you to be stuck here with just a spell book and whatever you can come up with.
Oh, he frowns. But I suppose that there's not much that one can do by means of magical research in this place.
Well, you can do it from the outside. Just be very careful about that. This place will bite back.
Well, I wouldn't say no to additional materials, I suppose, if you have them.
All right. Aerith will very almost reverently, or reverently is the wrong word. It's more gently, out of his bag, pulls a book that is probably 600 or 700 pages thick and written in a messy but readable script. This is I'm going to trust you to take good care of this. It's the history I've been writing of my people before the war. It might not be terribly interesting for some parts, but there is a great deal in here about Offstra and about our magic, so I imagine that will definitely be interesting to you. We had a lot of things that just treat it well.
He nods, taking the book. Right, I'll endeavor to make sure it comes to no harm then.
Thank you. And be safe. I know this place is scary, but you should be safe if you're careful. And hell, he smiles. It's quite a view.
He nods. Right, good. Okay then, I suppose I'll settle in, and you said you would fetch the firewood, yes? I won't have to,
Yeah, I'll get on that. You familiarize yourself.
Good, excellent, yes, I'll do that then. Wonderful. Good.
He nods and gets the elevator to descend. And that is pretty much all he's doing until the others arrive, chopping firewood and loading it up.
Very good, so, with that, Esmeralda kind of attends to her cart, Ismark and Irina sitting and talking quietly by the causeway as Davian just keeps an eye on things. An hour or so goes by, and it's not long before you see, well, your compatriots exiting from Vallaki, Lillison, Amity, Kiva, and Metreon. The four of you make your way out from the gates of the town and onto the Old Svalich Road. You begin traveling westward. Is there anything the four of you would like to do on your venture? Or are you just making your way from point A to point B?
I'm good with point A to point B, but if anyone else wants anything to do.
Same here.
Yeah, just trying to avoid trouble.
Right. Well, in that case, I am glad to report that as you make your way across the Luna River, bending southward past Argynfestholt, where you can just barely see, you think, the haunted scepters of the castle peering over the treetops, then veering northward again toward the Raven River crossroads, and finally splitting off on the trail toward Lake Baratok. You encounter no danger, no sentries, no troubles. And so you emerge toward the shores of the lake just as you see Erthrindir, sleeves rolled up, heading out of the tree line, a pile of firewood and some kindling in his arms.
What?
Oh,
does he
speak
not
of the
want
devil.
To, does he not want to cut any of his own wood anymore?
Aerith snorts. I figured I'd be nice. And I told him that he'd have to cut it if we were gone for a long time, so I think it evens out.
You're
Even, y'all.
very generous.
Oh, and something I forgot, unfortunately. What was your plan for getting Casimir?
I think they were going to stop by the camp and grab him.
Okay.
Oh, we were?
I will say he wouldn't have much to note. If you would like to retcon a bit, you can have picked him up at the encampment.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Just briefly, he'll say, "All right, I'm ready to head off. Let's hit the road and get ourselves moving." And he will travel with you to the tower.
Excellent.
As he arrives outside of it, as the group of you speak with Erthrindir, he looks up at it with a thoughtful look in his face. Huh. I've never seen the place. Interesting. He glances to the others. You're planning on putting the boy up here?
That was our plan. How did he take it?
Aerith shrugs, letting the wood fall to the ground. Fairly well, as far as all things considered. Once he saw the top was waterproof and had a stove, he relaxed a little bit. Think he'll almost certainly spend the time poking around, and who knows, maybe he'll figure out how that anti-magic works, but I think he should be okay. I told him in no uncertain terms that if he touched the golems, they'd kill him, so progress.
Okay.
Why'd you tell him?
Because I don't... Not dignifying that with an answer.
Well, we got the clothes here.
I think Metron thumbs up, though.
We got the clothes here, so we can bundle
Oh,
up.
splendid. Thank you. Was he hard to rub?
I don't know if he's my type to rub, but no, he was fine.
Aerith shudders a little bit. That's good. Well then, I'll go. Should we just get going then?
A time like the present, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that, you see Esmeralda waving the group of you over to her wagon. Would you like to join her there?
Yeah.
Of course.
All right. She gives you a grin as you approach. All right, then. I suppose we're all good to head out. I've got the wagon ready and prepared to go. Before we set out, is there anything in here that I can give you? I have quite a bit of ammunition, perhaps, if you would be interested. A few other items.
What else have you got?
I have a few weapons. I think I gave you the crossbow bolts with the silver on them, and she nods toward Metreon. If you're looking, I have a battle axe, a flail, another crossbow. I have a climber's kit in case we need it.
That would be
Definitely
useful.
bring the climber's
Yeah.
kit and maybe some of those bombs that you've got.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, I have quite a bit of fire.
If you've got a battle axe, wouldn't that Kiva? That would be a sight better than that old mace, wouldn't it?
Kiva gives Metreon a look and just says, I'll keep the mace.
Suit yourself. Suppose no accounting for taste.
Metron looks confused. I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but the base is fun too. Irina, can you use the crossbow?
Irina looks at you. Well, I already have the crossbow that I think one of you gave me.
Yes, I did. But,
Right, yes.
Out of character. Is this a hand crossbow or a light crossbow?
Let me check her character sheet. Esmeralda has a light crossbow. Irina has a hand crossbow.
Do I know how to use a light crossbow?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that crossbow down.
All right, Esmeralda retrieves it for you. At the sound of bombs, Casimir's ears kind of, well, not ears, but like his attention gets perked up. Bombs? Might I ask what you're referring to?
Esmeralda is, while a very fine monster hunter, also a madwoman and has, I think, close to 100 flasks of alchemist fire strapped to that wagon.
They're not strapped there anymore. I have securely taken them down and stored them for the transport. And you see Casimir is just tailing and taking a step back from the wagon.
Meanwhile, looking at her like she's never seen anything more beautiful in her entire life.
Aerith will just join Casimir, cackling. The proper
things.
reaction.
Oh my god, I know how you're gonna kill the rock.
2 things. As first, can I borrow some of that alchemist fire?
Esmeralda nods. But of course, how many vials would you like? I have quite plenty.
I think just 2 for now.
Very good. One moment, and she ducks inside, grabs 2 vials, and gingerly hands them to you, wrapped in a small cloth.
Thank you. And she securely puts them away, and then turns towards Erthrindir, pulling out the rope. We got rope. We should probably keep it with the grappling hook this time, as she hands it over.
He snorts. Thank you. Yeah, no, it'll be nice to have more than 50 feet. God bless. Well then, I think that's everything I can think of sorted.
Well, we ready to freeze our tits off?
Excited to, even.
Alrighty. With that said, I'm presuming you all changed into your cold weather clothes, or put them on over your current gear?
Yep.
Yes.
What sort of, what flavor of cold weather clothes are these? Are we talking, furs, or...?
Yes, they're mostly furs, very thick, piled together, some... I'm very bad with describing clothes, so you have to bear with me. But, there's some of reinforced leathers with furs around the necks and sleeves, and padded on the interiors as well. There are a variety of colors, kind of a motley assortment. There's some blacks and browns. One is like a very faded periwinkle blue that's been faded and torn by the weight of years, and you're pretty sure it didn't originate in Barovia, but somehow it made its way here. And of course, there is, for Truffle, a slightly awkward to maneuver, but you're able to get it somehow by making a few expeditious cuts with a dagger. A small little pig-sized suit that he can kind of wiggle into.
Adorable.
It will probably come out in the course of redistributing clothes that Lilson does not have a set of warm clothing and does not seem to intend to take one.
Well, and we've got enough here. Oh, is it because you're a zombie?
I am not a zombie.
I'm sorry, Revenant.
Oh, so we should have told the guards that we had an undead with us when we were going into town.
Can we back up a bit? What part of either of those things makes you not need cold in the snow?
I'm not... Look, if I actually do get cold, I will choose somebody and snuggle with them.
Will you?
She absolutely will not.
I'll pay to see that.
Yeah, I'm not really into it.
But, okay, do speak up. I don't want to have to be the one to amputate the toe.
I have the alchemist's fire.
That... I don't really have faith in that to keep you warm instead of self-immolation.
Anyway, shall we?
I suppose.
And we set off.
Indeed.
Okay, so after bidding Victor farewell, you see Esmeralda return to her wagon, snapping the reins and mutter, Dravesh. You see the pair of draft horses apparate to their tethers to the wagon. whinnying and snorting into the cold mountain lake air, and begin pulling the wagon forth onto the path across the causeway and back toward the trail as it meanders toward the Svalage Road. Together, the group of you begin descending southward, leaving the lake behind and passing once more onto the path as you prepare yourselves to descend, or rather ascend, to your coming destination. As you do, you head westward, leading to a split off from the path just before the Raven River crossroads, where you see the gravel road heading southward. You see before you the great white peak of Mount Ghakis, reaching up its top, vanishing into the fog and overcast clouds far up overhead. Casimir leads you forward, stepping onto the path for a moment, and then pauses, staring back eastward toward the road, back toward Vallaki, a faraway look in his eye.
Penny for your thoughts.
He chuckles. Well, it's been a long time I've been waiting for this opportunity, so all I can do is thank you for being willing to work together on this endeavor. Shall we head on up and see what we can accomplish?
Yeah, but Izzy, and Metron looks over at Ismark. If we got a camp here, I might need a warm body to keep me warm. These clothes is warm, but they're kind of thin.
He nods. All right, we will see to it that the group of us are able to cluster together, I think. I read in the book somewhere that the more people that come together in kind of a pile in the cold, it kind of preserves the heat, I think that we should not have any issues. There are ample numbers.
Eva just makes a gesture behind Ismark of her hand just going over her head, and looking after it like something flew over her.
Yeah, more the merrier. And Metron returns a glance back at Kiva like, someday he'll get it.
At this, Casimir turns toward the group of you. Right, well, just so we're aware, as a reminder, the major obstacles we might have to face on the way up or down is, mountain folk we might encounter one of the patrols. Hopefully we won't see the rock. It mostly lingers around Lake Luna, so if nothing else, we should have a few sightings of it until we reach the gatehouse. The gatehouse itself has its own obstacles, but we'll be able to discuss further when we approach.
Aerith perks up. Oh, damn, I almost forgot. And he murmurs a few incantations and casts mage armor on himself and Amity. Would have been stupid to walk into this without doing that. But thank you for the heads up. We'll be careful.
He nods with a thin smile. Right, well, just so you're aware, there is a bit of a decision to make before we set off. It's a number of hours to the spot on the road where we'll find the temple. There is a small stopping off point. There's like I said, a gatehouse. There's a tower near there where we could camp for the night halfway up the trek if you'd like, or we could make our way all the way to the temple. Now, unfortunately, the place outside our destination is not entirely hospitable, so if you'd like to go halfway and then finish the trek in the morning, that might be an alternate concept. I myself have sheltered there once or twice.
Seems like it'd make more sense to just stay in that gatehouse then than try and push through and get trapped in a blizzard or something.
I think I'd agree. In that case, if everyone's amenable, we'll make our way to the gatehouse, see if we can head to the keep there just by the bridge over the Luna River. We'll make camp there for the night. It'll be out of the way of the elements, and then come morning, we'll finish the trek to the top. Or at least as close to the top as the road will lead us. Hearing no dissent, he nods. Very well then, I suppose we'll set off. And with that, he turns and begins leading you forward on the path onward and away from the Svalage Road.
So, Randy, and Metron kind of pulls Randy back a bit away from, as much as he can, away from Casimir being able to hear. So you say you trust this guy, yeah?
Aerith looks a bit startled to have Metreon pull him away, but will acquiesce. Yeah, and then he lowers his voice. I think he's a bit bereaved and might be looking for something that doesn't exist. He thinks that there'll be secrets here that'll resurrect his sister, but she's long gone. The kind of magic that would need would be absurd. I don't think he's going to find it. But I trust him not to betray us or stab us in the back or anything, if that's what you mean.
Alright, well, if he does, I'm stabbing you back.
Oh, you're free to it. In that case, I will be diswrought enough. I really like the guy. He's kind.
Yeah, well, he seems alright, I guess.
Fair enough. Suppose that's high praise from you. Your natural setting seems to be distrust.
Well, excuse me. Is that a
Am
read
I
on
wrong?
me?
It is.
I think it's a healthy amount.
I mean, depending on your circumstances. Here, almost certainly, yeah. Like, anywhere else? Not really.
Well, listen, just make sure you have a fireball ready or something, just in case things go awry.
Yep. And likewise, I've been impressed by that light magic you've been putting out.
Yeah, I wonder if I can throw a fireball.
I'd be willing to teach you if you want.
Metron raises a brow, gives it some consideration. Nah, not right now.
Fair enough.
And he walks away from Randy, rejoining the others.
Yep.
Okay. With that, the group of you set forth on the road, passing forward as you follow the gravel road southward, departing the Raven River crossroads as the path curves gently between tall, dark trees. It's not long before it begins to climb through steep, rocky slopes, hugging a spur of the great Mount Ghakis. But not long after that, either, that listen. You hear the sound of several rocks, pebbles, skittering down the sides of the path behind you, and looking back, you see a cloaked shape slinking back into the brush, around 50 yards back.
Lillison stops and turns and takes a few tentative steps back that way. Anything that she can see, just scanning the area?
Make a perception check.
That is an 11.
An 11, okay. Looking there, you can just faintly see a faint rustling in the trees where the figure vanished. You feel the weight of perhaps a gaze looking upon you from the distance, but you can't quite make out the details. From what you saw the first time, just out of the corner of your eye, it seemed to be a cloak of seemed like deep purple with red tinges upon it, and you caught a flash of amber of a tunic below.
Ah, I see. We're being followed. Again.
Bloody hell. By what?
Somebody wearing colorful clothing.
When I spoke to Arabelle and Luvash, Aragel seemed interested in what we were doing. So, could be someone he sent after us or another Vistana.
Do you really feel comfortable with them telling us?
What,
Well,
are
we
they
can-
gonna tell Strahd before Lillison does?
Lillison smiles briefly and lowers her voice and says, "In fact, I made certain not to say exactly where we were going last time, but... Well, let's see how far up the mountain they are actually willing to follow."
Yeah, there's decent odds that they weren't able to get cold weather gear themselves, so might be that we'll force them out through that.
All right, are you continuing forward then?
For now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you pass on forward, ignoring the silhouette, though, Lilith, and you, out of the corner of your eye, as soon as you begin moving again, you see a stirring in the underbrush, perhaps a quarter of a mile back. And a few times as you travel, you think you see a shadow lurking just around the bend, tailing you, watchful from afar. But it doesn't close the distance. It doesn't make any effort to grow closer. It just watches and follows. 4 miles you travel. Then 5 and 6, the air growing colder, the wind growing sharper, until its icy chill cuts through your cloaks and burns across your flesh. Beneath your cold weather clothing, you're briefly grateful for the extra furs and leathers you accumulated, for there's no doubt that this icy chill would be far worse but for their protection. Before long, the forest has vanished entirely from your sight as tall mountain cliffs rise up on either side of the pass, and then the cliffs part, revealing a new landscape up ahead.
My tits are sufficiently frozen right now.
I hate this weather so much.
What, is it getting bad or something?
Aerith shoots a furious look over at Lillison, just utterly nonplussed. Oh, you cannot talk. Not all of us get brought back from death with the power to immunity to snow.
Lillison, can you just reach over and stab me and make me a zombie?
I don't think it works like that.
Yeah, it's gotta be a bite, I think.
I do not wish to
Casimir
bite
hisses
anybody.
under his breath and holds up a hand. We've arrived. And
Okay, so what do we do now?
You can see that the shelf of rock on which the mountain road clings grows narrow. To your left, the icy cliffs rise sharply toward dark, rolling clouds. To your right, the ground falls away into a sea of fog. Ahead, through the wind and snow, you see a high wall of black stone lined with spikes and topped by statues of demonic vultures with horned heads. Set in the center of the wall, it's a closed portcullis, iron, behind which burns a curtain of green flame. On the other side of the dark wall, gripping the mountain's edge, is a guard tower of white stone topped by golden statues of mighty warriors. Casimir takes a deep breath and then exhales it. All right, we've reached the gatehouse. That's half the journey already.
How'd you get through this the first time?
Well, you see, the first time was a little cocky. Let's keep our distance for the moment, shall we? And he keeps you back from approaching any further. Took it upon myself.
Something about that. Can I do some insight or something like that? See why
What are
he's
you
doing
looking
that.
for?
I want to
Sure,
see
you
why
make an
he's
insight check.
distancing himself. Yeah.
Yeah, make an insight check.
It's not showing up.
All good. I'll just say that given your passive insight, he seems to...
It's a 4.
He doesn't seem to be making any special effort to conceal his emotions. You can see his eyes are flickering atop the statues of vultures atop the wall. Well, the first time I came here, I was a little cockier than others. I didn't take the time to inspect my surroundings quite as much as I probably should have. But, I worked a bit of magic, took to the air, attempting to go over the top of the wall. Didn't fancy my chances about walking through fire as it was. It was a bit of a mistake. I should have inspected my surroundings a little more carefully.
Okay, please stop being mysterious. It's really cold.
Right, sorry, I apologize. Those 2 statues up there you see look like some kind of demonic vulture. Well, demons they are. Tried to cross over, I don't know what it was, but some ancient magic done these parts woke them up. They came to life, the stone cracking off of him like the weight of years. Barely escaped. He points down, far down from the mountain, somewhere amidst the sea of fog, where you can just faintly see the treetops poking up. Long story short, it was only through plummeting around 150 feet to my death and being very grateful that I prepared a polymorph spell that I was able to get away with my life at all.
While Casimir's being coy, Amity has lurched like a humpbacked robot up to the fire and sat herself down in front of it.
Okay, as you step forward toward the fire, moving closer and inspecting it, you see what appears to be the curtain of green flame filling the eastern archway. Looking up above you, you see the two stone demonic vultures glaring down toward you, their arms lurching forward and clasping the shelf of rock as their wings curl behind them in the stone. As you approach within 10 feet of the portcullis, it begins to shriek with the sound of metal on metal as it grinds, rising of its own volition at your approach. Beyond it, you see nothing more than the flickering curls of the emerald green flames.
Amity, did you do that?
Maybe. Amity sort of like waved her hands like one does at an automatic door when she approached the portcullis, so she might not be fully aware.
Casimir looks toward Erthrindir with a very pained look in his eyes. Please tell me they're not going to do this when we get to the temple.
I make no promises.
Oh, gods. All right. You lot, if you won't mind, I'm glad to... I just don't want to wake anything up, all right?
Yeah, actually, Kaz, that flame's magic, right? It's not like just natural being put through some copper or something?
100%. I myself have had to rely on other means of subterfuge. As far as I can tell, the Guardians, they're pretty watchful for any of us folk that might pass through. I've flitted through in other forms. They don't seem to notice smaller beasts, but if I could have some spell to nullify the magic in that gatehouse, it'd be easier to walk through, I think, but unfortunately it's not one of my fortes.
Aerith grins ear to ear. Stand back. And brushing away some snow, he pulls out his wand, closes his eyes, and almost in the motions that he'd used, he raises his wand like a conductor's baton, listening to some music and only in his head, and casts Dispel Magic.
Okay.
Counter spell. Amity
I will need
mumbles.
you to make a charisma
Amity
check
does
for
not
me.
know counter spell.
Yet.
Okay, so that's a
And I
charisma
think
check
it's adding
plus
your-
jack of all
I think it's-
trades.
Yeah, and I think it adds your proficiency bonus if you're proficient. Which you are.
No.
No, it doesn't. It's just a trade ability.
Yes.
All right, go for it.
7.
You feel the wisps of magic curl away from your fingers, kind of these streams of shrieking mists, dark tinged like toxic fog, wisping toward the flame, attempting to extinguish it, and it flares up, burning them away.
Shit. Amity, I think I need your help on this one. You can do it from there just to inspire me, I guess.
Alright, but can we sit in front of the fire for a few minutes and then you dispel the fire?
Depends. How much do you like getting torn apart by angry demons?
Okay, 1 minute.
I'll give you 1 minute.
Amity basks in the fire, and then her face glum gives an absolutely half-hearted, I believe in you.
All right. He's going to try again.
All right,
This
give me
time with
another
inspiration.
Yep.
Okay. $12, gonna spend that bardic. With a 7, more effective than Amity thought. That's a 19.
All right. This time, with Amity's bardic inspiration fueling you, the streams of fog that flow from your fingertips, as the tenuous sounds of screeching strings whine in the air behind you, the wisps suddenly flare up into a cloud of deep black fog that lashes forward like a hungry animal, devouring the flame, consuming it, and then vanishing, wisping out and leaving nothing behind. You see, just faintly on the very bottom, just small burning green flame-like embers, no taller than an inch each. It seems that the effect has been suppressed for the moment.
Earth slumps, breathing hard. Shit, that's a powerful spell. Damn, that took a bit out of me.
Are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I think so. Just let's get through while I can hold it back. I'm not sure I can do that again. As he makes a path towards just getting through the gate.
Let's make haste.
Lillison looks extremely scared of the green fire and tries to, jump over it as soon as possible.
The rest of you see Lillison make a little hop over the flame and just quickly make her way past. You're able to avoid it without trouble. It's quite a lot of you, but you're able to step your way through. And on the other side, emerging out beyond the opposite side of the gatehouse, you see the path winding forward, just curving slightly toward the north as it bends toward the side of the cliff and a pair of evergreen trees that rise up their branches dusted with snow. You can see a large arch with what appears to be a pair of large statues of stone on the opposites, at the very end of the path, perhaps a 100 feet away from your current position, that appear to be standing rampant over an old stone bridge that just leads across to the opposite cliff in the mists up ahead, below it the ground just sharply dropping away out of sight. To your immediate right, you see a tall stone tower built of white stone, and at the very top of it, the golden statues of warriors wielding weapons as they stare off into the cardinal directions, silent, watchful sentries. At the very bottom, there's a small wooden door bound with iron, a small rusted handle just off to the side of it. As you survey your surroundings for a moment, you hear the sound of creaking iron as the portcullis slowly descends and then slams shut behind you, and a roar of flame as the green fire curtain reemerges into an inferno with gusto.
Well, this is cheery.
This does
Casimir
mean...
nods toward the tower. This is where we can hold up for the night if you're looking for it. He looks toward Lillison.
Well, I suppose this does mean that we will have to spend at least one day here if we can't return until... And she trails off looking at Erthrindir.
He shakes himself. I can do it again. It's a pretty intense effort of magic. I'd prefer us not to go back and forth in case Strahd or somebody follows us up here, or we have to deal with an attack.
Well, whoever was tailing us, at least, is unlikely to get through now, I think.
Yep, unless they're very stupid. Shall we set up in there?
All right. Before we get going, forward from here, we're gonna need more fire time. Everybody is distinctly cheered up now that the fire has come back.
Yeah, Metron starts to wander over towards her too, and starts to take off some of his gloves, and because he's wearing at least 2 pairs, and starts to warm his hands by it.
Honestly, it might be more comfortable sleeping by this than in there. Suppose we'll make that choice when we get to it.
Lillison wanders away and goes to look at the structure that Casimir had pointed out. What does it look like again?
You mean the tower or the bridge?
Yeah.
The tower itself is just a simple. I believe it has around 3 stories to it. There's a first floor, a second floor, and you can see a rooftop up ahead with small crenellations looking down over the path. There's just a simple iron-bound wooden door facing the pathway.
Does it look like it was built in the same style as Argynvostholt?
Looking over it, make a history check for me.
That is a 14.
14. Looking over it, it's possible there's some resemblance. You're not an expert in stonecraft or anything of that nature. You remember that Argynvostholt had perhaps slightly different make in some places, but it's possible. It certainly seems at least similarly old.
Okay. Lillison will have thoughts about architecture for a while.
Very good. All right, well, what would you like to do? There is a door to the tower. You can proceed forward to the bridge, or if there's anything out here you'd like to do.
Aerith will see if he can get inside.
All right. You step forward toward the tower door, try to open it, and you hear a rattling on the inside. It refuses to budge, though the handle does move. It seems that it's probably barred from within.
Ah, shit. Is there a second floor or third floor window?
There does seem to be a second and third floor, but from the side of it, the windows seem to either face toward the opposite side of the gatehouse or down over the valley below.
Lillison might need your expertise here. It's barred from the inside.
Sorry, there is a window on the second floor that looks over the path, but it seems to be closed.
Gotcha. Still, same. Lillison might need your expertise on this one.
Yes.
Barred from the inside, only way in looks like a second floor window.
All right. I suppose I can. And she steps closer and tries to summon her mage hand on the inside of the door. On the inside of the tower behind the door.
Casimir blinks and just holds up hand. No worry, I can take care of it if you want to be in and right back out.
You can?
Sure, just one moment. And he kind of glances up, squints. It's a bit difficult to make out, but I imagine if I just... He murmurs something under his breath and then vanishes in a swirl of mist. You see his silhouette reappear on the second floor just beyond the window. You see him mouth the words, "Be right down," and he vanishes from sight.
Lillison looks at Erthrindir.
God, he's so cool.
Alright, you hear the sound of steps descending what sounds like a metal ladder of some kind from the other side, clunking through the stone floor, and then you hear the sound of a grunt of effort and a heavy wooden bar being removed from its position, and then the door creaks open. You see Casimir standing on the opposite side, his cloak still pulled taut over his head. Right then, usually I've come in from the top in other forms, but I suppose this will do as well?
Yeah, a bit harder to do that with 10 people.
Thank you so much.
Of course, not a problem. Please, let's, if you'd all like to make yourselves comfortable. I imagine we have a few hours left before nightfall.
Yeah. Aerith will just casually look around the top of the tower, kind of letting his historian side take over for a while, see what he can find in here.
Sure. Stepping inside, you see that a cold hearth stands across from the door, the wind howling down its chimney. A stone staircase is on the south wall, and 3 windows look out over a foggy sea.
He'll head up the stairs.
All right. Making your way up, you see that the upper level of the tower is an icebox, with windows set in almost every wall. A rusted iron ladder bolted to the floor and ceiling leads up to a wooden trapdoor. Mounted above the stone hearth, you see a dire wolf's head. The wind coming down the chimney howls in its stead.
Aerith, does he look? Can he get one of these windows open?
Absolutely. You could do so without too much difficulty. I mean, they're kind of stuck in place, and they take a little bit of elbow grease, but you kind of grunt and force them open, and then the wind screams as it howls past.
Aerith tromps over to the wolf's head, teeth chattering, and just pulls it off the wall. Just walks over to the window. Oh no, none of that. I remember that day. Not today. And he just tosses it off the side of the mountain.
All right. Anyone watching would see it kind of fall out the window. It's a bit of a difficulty to get it through because it's a large direwolf set. You kind of push and squeeze it through, and then it pops out the other side. The taxidermied head kind of swishing in, and then you see it just kind of plummet. Its bestial snarl glaring up toward you before the back of the mount slams against the stone, cracking and splintering, and then the wolf's head just kind of bounces, falling across several jagged clumps of stone before it vanishes balefully into the misty sea below.
He comes back down, apparently satisfied with himself. All right. Well, the top floor is miserable. A little less miserable now, but I think this will do. Just to keep the door to the upstairs closed. It's freezing.
Oh, why? What's up there?
Windows and a formerly taxidermied wolf head.
Oh, is that all?
Well, the up to the top too, but I honestly could not be bothered.
Lillison kind of shrugs and starts climbing up to see her for herself.
Okay, making your way up, you see the same. It's freezing in here. You can see the windows looking out over the area, the path, the edge of the mountain. You can also see a kind of pale splotch on the wall where the direwolf's head presumably once laid. The stone hearth there and the wind screaming there from the chimney. You can see that one of the windows is kind of just slightly been disturbed from perhaps, you presume, where Earthendir just was.
Lillison will look around, and I'm just going to assume, like, going forward, that Lillison just doesn't feel any of the cold until you tell me so, in case there's, like, mechanical stuff to it. And she is going to climb up and try the trapdoor in the ceiling.
All right. The trapdoor, as you try it, it just pushes open with a squeal. Kind of pulling yourself up, you see a rooftop around you and the stormy gray sky lighting down from above. Here you see several 10-foot-tall, gold-plated statues standing atop the battlements, facing outward, each one depicting a female human knight holding a lance. The cold wind stirs the snow, under which you see human skeletons clad in rusty mail.
Lillison's gonna, with her mage hand, gonna cautiously poke one of the skeletons to see if it's like a skeleton that will actually come alive.
It does not appear to come alive. It just kind of creaks and groans and falls over onto its side. You see spilling forth from the tattered bits of cloth what seemed like a few ancient arrows spilling out across the snow-dusted stone.
All right, Lillison's gonna go back down and close the trapdoor firmly.
Okay. What's everyone else doing?
Metron has tried to convince Amity to tell them a story about tropical paradise, just sandy beaches, bright, warm sun sparkling, tanning their already colored bodies.
Oh, absolutely. While Amity thinks about this, is there any way we could get a fire started in the fireplace here? Or should we go back to the green one?
I mean, maybe if we got some kindling or something. But I feel like all that ice would just be, would dampen anything.
Yeah.
Ismark coughs. I saw them. There were some trees a little ways up the road toward the bridge. If you want, we could see if they might fetch some branches from there, bring them here into the fireplace. We could see what we could do. It might not be much, but it would be better than nothing.
I can join you, Ismark.
Right, sounds good. Esmeralda raises a hand. Would you like an axe? It's I suppose it won't be chopping down enemies, but chopping down trees or branches as well might assist you.
Darling, I've been waiting all day for you to ask me that.
All right, let me fetch it from the wagon. And she steps outside, rummages around in a trunk inside of the cart for a few moments, then produces it and hands it off to you.
Maybe we could use like some of that. What's it called? Alchemist fire. Maybe just chuck it in there and see what happens. Is that how it works?
Esmeralda coughs. I would not do that. That is inadvisable. Sorry. Let's save that for throwing at the people that we want to burn alive, alright?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, that works too.
Sorry for being so sluggish, Metreon. I mean, I'm a little surprised that you're not, or maybe you're just better at hiding it.
Hiding what?
I mean, sorry. Are you not cold-blooded?
No, not at all. I'm not built for this. I don't expect you are either.
I mean, no, I'm very not built for this. That's what I mean. Sorry.
No,
when I say
I'm
cold-blooded,
right now.
that means not. That means you don't cold.
Wait, what?
Someone help.
That never made sense to me out of character. Like, I always got them confused in school because I was like, they're cold-blooded. They like cold. Because they're cold blood.
Aerith peeks his head out of the gatehouse. Means that they rely on external sources of heat to maintain heat regulation. Which, really, darling? That's really cool. Goddamn.
But whatever it is, my people are not built for that kind of thing. So anything that's going to warm me up as quickly as possible is very agreeable to me.
Agreed.
Well, when me and Ismark get back, we can try again.
Yeah, and until you get back, I will be telling my story around the green fireplace, even if it is outside and slightly damper. So let's see. I don't know any canonical fairy tales to take. Oh no, there's the Arabian Nights. That's a fairy tale in a desert. Amity tells that classic genie in a lamp tale in the Arabian Nights by the green fireplace.
As the story is winding down, Lillison pokes her head out and says, Metreon, by the way, there are statues up there that are covered in actual gold.
Oh, wait, what? And Metreon gets up and starts to walk towards the gatehouse.
So you're making your way to the top of the tower?
Yeah, to wherever
Lillison's
Lillison was.
One by one.
Sure. So following Lillison's directions, you're able to ascend to the upper floor of the guard tower and then passing up the ladder toward the trapdoor at the top. You recall seeing the massive gold-plated statues atop the battlements, and you immediately think, just how much gold, whether they might be solid perhaps, or even just plated would be wonderful. Ascending the ladder, and you push open the trapdoor with a small squeal, and immediately you're left with the ghastly, eyeless, dark sockets of a skull glaring at you from its haphazard place, half-sealed in a snow blank.
I scream and I slam whatever door is in front of me shut between us and scurry back down. What the fuck was that up there?
No, was what?
Lil, I was promised gold. What I saw was a fucking skull.
Well, yes, there are also skeletons, but
Yeah, way to bury the lead.
we've seen plenty of skeletons while we're here. We haven't seen much gold. I thought you would have your priorities straight.
My priorities are surviving. Fine. Well, if it's... You checked it right. It's not, like, animated.
Nothing attacked me. I poked it with my mage hand. Nothing moved.
It's not as reassuring as I think you think it is. And Metron will go back slower and more cautiously this time to go back up into the top area.
Okay. You ascend the top area cautiously, looking around for any sign of anything that might be of danger. Carefully ascending the ladder and then peering through the trapdoor. If you're looking for danger, make a perception check for me.
Yes, I am. Oh, having a bit of an issue with things right now. Hold on, bear with me.
No worries. Just roll elsewhere is fine.
Bear with me a moment, sorry.
All right, what you got?
You have to come back to me. My internet's not working right now.
All good. Cool. So, with that, I'll say just peering out, giving your passive perception. You don't see anything of note, and you see that horrible, glaring skeletal face again, and you realize it's seems to be just a severed skull head. Looking around, you see a few other skeletons, 4 in total, including the one you've seen, just covered beneath the weight of snow, their rusted mail and weapons lying discarded and disheveled across the surface of the rooftop, but they don't seem to be moving.
Well, the bodiless skull, I lift my boot and stamp on it as hard as I can. And then I want to go check out the statues.
All right, the bone splinters and cracks underneath the weight easily. It seems to have been here for a very long time.
And yeah, is there a way to inspect or appraise the statues, see if they're real gold or gonna come to life?
Make a wisdom check for me.
Oh, that'll be fun. So that's going to be a 4.
Okay. You were just looking to see what kind of gold it was?
Just to see if it's real gold or if it's solid gold.
Seems goldish. As far as you've not had the chance to see much gold-plated things, so you're not sure, but it looks like it could be pretty valuable.
All right. And it looks like it's pretty solidly built. I can't just take pieces of it.
I mean, you could try spending a few hours hacking away at it with a dagger or something, see if you could peel it off. You do know that gold is pretty soft, so you might have some luck there.
I do. Yeah, fuck it. I'll throw a firebolt at an area just to see if it starts to smelt.
All right, and so it does. Beginning to curl away a little bit. You see little droplets of gold beginning to fall down as you pelt it with firebolts. If you'd like, you can spend a happy, very cold afternoon peeling off some gold shavings.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. In that case, as you're doing that, what is everyone else doing?
Wilson gives Amity an apologetic look. Sorry, that was a very lovely story you were telling.
Oh, don't worry about it. While I'm here, Amity starts ritual casting Detect Magic. Probably the fire's going to be magical, but who knows what else?
I would say, Kiva, is there anything you were looking to do with Ismark while you were fetching firewood, or were you just going to take care of that chore?
Yeah, she's just probably fetching firewood, probably looking around the perimeter to see if that Vistana managed to follow them. And if not, just sort of probably hanging out outside until it got too cold. She doesn't really mind the snow, so she's just probably vibing outside.
Okay. Looking around, there's no sign of the Vistana. You haven't seen anyone else pass through the gatehouse. You're just here at these 2 rather large evergreen trees, each one around 20 to 30 feet wide at the base. Together, you're able to pick up a few lower branches, pick up some firewood. It seems like this is not an area that's traversed very frequently. It's somewhat slim pickings, but you think you'll be able to put enough together to keep a fire going at least through the night.
Sweet.
Okay. With that, is there anything more you would like to do for the rest of the afternoon as you prepare to take your long rest here?
One thing. Since it seems like most folks are sitting by the fire, Aerith will join them and just listening to Amity's story. And after a lull, he looks a bit serious. So, not to ruin the mood, but I've been having a thought, and probably should bring it up while we're probably as safe from Strahd prying as we can get. I doubt bats and wolves can make it up here. how are we actually going to kill him? Like, not to be blunt about it, but with his capabilities and on his home turf, sure, we've got the Sun Sword and everything, but with how fast he is, with how fast he regenerates, with that protection, sure, we've got the numbers advantage, but even so, how are we gonna actually manage that?
Well, we managed pretty decently well in Kresk. Enough to break that shimmery force field of protection he has around him. And that
Yeah,
was
but
me, but I'm saying, I think if we... Lillison's been fighting, practicing, and working with me and Ismark on combat, and is getting better every time. And
I'm not doubting your combat acumen. I'm doubting our ability to pin him down. Y'all saw how fast he was. It's insane. If we can get him in a corner and beat him up, all well and good, but I don't have faith we can keep up with him.
I mean, we probably won't have to, right? He'll want us dead eventually as well, so he'll come to finish it. I can't imagine that he'd let someone else have the fun of killing us. Not after all the trouble we've caused him.
But we don't want him to just run away when we could kill him, and then he comes back when we're asleep.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. I can't help but come to the conclusion that with his capabilities, his best bet is hit us hard, and then, he knows his castle better than any of us, from what Van Richten said. Like, hell, didn't VR say that he could go through walls? How do we stop that?
With what you just cast, Earthrider, do you think that is a weapon that we can bring to bear against him?
Maybe. If he, tries to be invisible or something, or use self-buffs, then yeah, absolutely. But otherwise, not really.
Last time Metreon's not here, right? Metreon's not here. Last time we had to kill a vampire, it was running away, but I managed to just grab it with my tail. If I'm holding on to him, you should make sure that I don't get killed.
Esmeralda coughs. There's one issue with that. It's a solvable one, but it's one we'll have to consider. He is a elder vampire. He can, I presume, as we've seen several times, turn himself to mist. If you are looking to hold him and keep him there, you'll need to have him exposed to sunlight while you do it.
If he turns himself to mist, then will he have to, waste time doing that and won't also be killing us at the same time?
Yeah, if he can he cast spells while he's floating around as a cloud or something?
Well, I've never faced him in open combat myself, but I certainly hope not. It's not something that I've heard frequently. I'm sure Dr. Van Richten would know more than I, but when they are in mist form, it is more for safety and transportation. They are vulnerable in a certain respect in that time, but... Well, if what I mean to say is that if we are able to get him into sunlight and keep him there, then, well, that is already very good news for us.
Alright, yeah, no, that's a good plan, Amity. So, we need some way of keeping him in place, and we need a way of just dealing with, he kind of motions to... pulls up his shirt briefly to show the scar from when Strahd practically ripped his heart out of his chest at the Blue Water Inn. That. Man... I'm not sure if we can kill him faster than he can kill us, frankly, because all it took was one to nearly kill me.
We're a lot stronger now than we were back then.
Yeah, and this time he won't be playing with us.
This is true. I am very hopeful that I will be able to get some sort of information about himself, but more more crucially about the castle that we might be able to use to our advantage.
Yeah, any intelligence we can get about that will be lovely. That's good thinking, Molson. Sorry, I didn't mean to break up a nice moment. Just, it's been on my mind with how soundly we've been defeated every time he shows up. It sticks with you.
Kiva looks a little offended, not at Erthrandir, but just the idea of like being beaten again, and is just like you can tell that she is interested in this conversation, but so much of her is just like, we will go in and we will finish it. It doesn't matter how. It's just going to happen. Like, she's very much not tactically minded, and she's sort of like exasperated because in her mind the plan is like, we just go in and we fight, and one of us walks out.
And I suppose going forth from here, it will be extremely crucial not to make eye contact with anybody or anything, now that we know that he can do that through bats and presumably wolves.
Yeah, that's cheering. Honestly, could we add in another difficulty? Maybe he's actually got a twin brother.
Maybe he can only be defeated under a full moon while one of us sings a full opera solo or something.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I've got a lovely singing voice. I'm sure I can pull it off.
I have full faith in you and Amity to pull off the necessary musical accompaniment for our eventual glorious victory, I'm sure.
Maybe he can only be defeated if we first insert a bottle cap into all of the holes in his castle.
What? Is that a thing?
I'm just surfing on Lillison's joke.
Oh, yeah, of course. Aerith kind of rubs at his eyes. I think I might need to go to bed. I'm very tired. And also, we've all been running on adrenaline for... God, has it been, 3 weeks now, or 2? Have we really only known each other 2 weeks?
Feels like almost a year.
It really does. I don't know what I'd do without y'all. I legitimately can't imagine a life without you.
Yeah, fortunately, a year from now, we're never going to be in this intense cold ever again.
No, never. Can't think of any reason. I think that'd be happening to another group of people who are probably a lot happier than us. How about we go to bed before we, foreshadow anymore?
Yeah.
Before we
DM.
break any more walls.
Yes.
Yes, Metreon.
DM, how much gold was I able to harvest?
I would say that after working for a few hours of peeling, let's say you managed to harvest around, with no knowledge whatsoever of how any of this works, let's say around a pound of amateurly cut what seem to be gold shavings that you can kind of wrap in a sack or a handkerchief or pouch or something if you like.
Okay. Yeah, does that have like a value or?
Probably, if you could find someone willing to smelt it and make something out of it.
All right, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll come back down, freezing, but at least a little happier that I won't die poor. Well, shall we then? What's the order there? And Metron starts to scurry over to Ismark and Esmeralda. So you on this side, you on the other side, right?
Ismark shrugs.
Go ahead.
I'll assume that sleeping logistics are worked out.
Yep. I'd say we keep the same watch
Yeah.
order that we have at the tower.
All right, very fair. Lillison, is there anything you'd like to do before turning in for the night?
Lillison will take herself off to one side and start writing another missive.
Okay. I'd say you're able to finish that when you'd like. Are you looking to find a way to deliver it? What are you going to do when you're finished?
Yeah, she's going to walk outside the guard tower and look around, not with any great hope, because, really, what can there possibly be here?
You look around, trying to inspect the area for any sign of any bats or wolves or Strahd himself, for all you know, and then just very faintly out of the corner of your eye, as the sky is darkening into the dusky shades of night, you can see a small black leather-winged shape just hanging from its feet, just between the spikes on the left side of the gatehouse. Seeing you, it spreads its wings and glides faintly down to the ground, its small, squat form landing in a small tuft of snow atop a snowbank.
Lillison is suddenly afraid that the bat has been here the entire time and heard her earlier comments, but she steps forward and offers the letter to it.
As you do, you see it is already carrying in its mouth a very small, light bit of parchment, just curled up, very similar to the first time you received correspondence from a bat. It proffers it toward you.
Lillison is slightly surprised and takes it.
All right. Reaching out to take the small bit of parchment, you see written upon it, in the familiar scrawled, elegant script that you saw the first time you received an invitation from Strahd. It reads, "You may include, with your next correspondence, a single question in accordance with your request. I will answer truthfully, to the best of my ability, so long as neither the question nor the answer impugns the honor of my house. I await your next report."
Lillison's eyebrows climb towards her hairline. She exchanges her report for this piece of paper, gives the bat a small brief smile, and walks slowly back towards the guardhouse, reading and rereading this message.
With that, the bat squeaks, its small crimson eyes glinting against the darkness of the white, snow-spattered rock face, takes wing and begins to flap off toward the mist-covered sea below. And as it vanishes into the night and Lillison returns into the tower, that is where we will end it for today. And we'll pick this back up next week.
Yes.
Guys, what do I ask him?
I don't know.
Ask him out to dinner, make him fall in love with you, and then we just get to walk out of Barovia.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
already invited us to dinner, though.
Alright, ask him out to a different dinner. Say you know a
brunch.
really great place in Malachi called the Blue Water Inn.
Favorite
No.
color?
I will ask him out to dinner in Waterdeep. And while he
Yes.
opens the way to Waterdeep, everybody
leave.
else... Yeah.
Flip out behind his 29 cloaks.
Yeah.
He can't go to Waterdeep, though.
We all just hide underneath Bucephalus and just...
Well, do
Head out.
we know that he knows that he can't leave?
Ask him who the thing is in Barovia that is scariest other than him.
Ooh, ask him about his, greatest regret or something.
Well, that'll be a fun concept to think on and chew on for next week's session. So, I'm looking forward to the Discord conversations already. Alright, well, thank you as always to everyone for joining us today. You guys are great, we love you very much, and we will see you all back in the mists next week. Until then, prepare to venture the paths of untamed peaks, and take care.